Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we are back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful, wet, and a little bit snowy depending where you're living, British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Panther.
And I'm Zachariah Eisenhower.
And it's another packed show. I just say that every week. I think you've taken it for granted now that we have another packed show. And it's a sad week, really, because it's the first one where we don't have any MLS trading cards to open from 2011. But fear not, fans of that segment, the two of you out there, as well as Zach, myself and Steve. We will be bringing it back in a form. We're not opening more cards, don't worry. But Zach and me will go over our teams and then throw it out to the listeners to vote as to who you feel has the best starting 11 from the cards that we opened, as and when we opened them. And we're going to do that on our Christmas show because it's all fun and games on that show until someone loses an eye or somebody loses a vote with the public. And then someone, me, will get very upset because Zach has pandered to the audience by going for fan favourites, whereas I have some hated players in my team. Let's be honest.
I put players I don't even like on my team, not to get votes, just because I think they would be the best for the team. It's all about the team, Michael. You got to put the team first.
Yes, there's no I in team, but there is me. If you rearrange a couple of the layers. Anyway, how's your week been, guys? Zach, up to anything? Go see any fun films? Any Lego excitement? Because it's start of December. You must be doing a Christmas Lego set.
Yeah, actually. So today we have this thing for our kids. Last Christmas we got some like kind of winter snowy Lego sets, but we told the kids, for my wife, the kids and I, we said no building them until it snows. And so today it snowed. So today we were building some Lego sets from last Christmas. So my wife's building like the Christmas market. I built the ski patrol one, which is really sweet. Kirk was building a hot set, and Liza built hers last year, I think, when it did snow, and we didn't. So she was building an Eternal set, and I also was building an Eternal set today.
They'll last forever. What about yourself, Steve? You still into the Lego as much? You don't mention it too much.
I was never into the Lego. I was into buying Lego for my kids who were.
Oh.
So I was never in, I never.
Oh, like a proper grown-up, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say that. I have no problem with grown-ups actually playing with Lego. That's fine. It just wasn't something I was interested in.
Oh, I'm obviously, like, I play with little Subbuteo figures and other things from my childhood still, so that's totally fine. And I've been slowly building Zach's Doctor Who Lego thing, very slowly.
So I was
that's 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that happened for me was I moved from Bell to another cell phone company, and they sent me an email asking for reasons why or whatever. So I'm contemplating, should I message them that I'm not happy with the fact that it took so long to get a number 10, or I don't agree with the Sartini appointment. I'm not sure. I'm just wondering what I should give as a reason.
Just
maybe
say,
Maybe we should put a poll out there for the public to decide on what response I give.
Just say because they cancelled 10:40 before our show got on it.
Oh, that's another one. Or Pete Chad is no longer the play-by-play.
Oh, so many reasons.
Yeah, so many.
Well, the
I'm not going to mention that.
Oh.
I don't want to give them a plug either.
Oh, okay. No.
Oh, I'm with Kudo. I don't mind giving them a plug. If they want to sponsor the show, get in touch. But enough of all of that. Let's get into the football chat now. And, well, we have to start off by declaring Canada is purple. It used to be just Vancouver was purple, according to Pa Modou Kah, after Pacific beat the Whitecaps in the Canadian Championship. I think it's safe to say now, all of Canada is purple because BC is the home to the new 2021 Canadian Premier League champions. Take my hat off to Pa Modou Kah and his band of merry men out of Langford, not Langley, Langford. Yeah, we'll come to that at some other point, I'm sure. Wow, we were watching the game this afternoon. We were in our group chat about it. Delighted for Pa, delighted for all the guys at Pacific FC, the supporters as well. What a win, what an afternoon that was, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ecstatic for Pacific and the players, the coaches, the staff, the owners, all of them. Just really, really happy for them. Going into it was the kind of game where you're just like, you felt like they were the massive underdogs, both and like in all aspects. I mean, in history, in squads, maybe you could say, injuries, media coverage. Like they were just the underdogs in so many ways. That it was great to see them overcome and come out on top.
It was, and I mean, we've got to be honest, Steve, they were a bit under the cosh during the game. And I should say, for anyone that hasn't been paying attention, Pacific FC beat Forge FC 1-0 in the Canadian Premier League Championship game on Sunday afternoon at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. And for much of the game, they were under the cosh. In the first half, 73% possession to Forge, and they outshot Pacific in that first half 8-2, and you're thinking, this is one-way traffic. This is not the Pacific FC that we know. This isn't how they play. It's not their attacking style. But they got the job done. They took their opportunity, Steve, in that second half, and just delighted for everyone, as we said.
That's something you have to do sometimes. Like, everybody wants to see attractive football. Everybody wants to see, like, an advertisement for the game and for the CPL, like something going back and forth. But you're here to win a championship, and you have to do what you can. The first half, I think they just tried to survive and see where they stood after the half, and then make adjustments accordingly. And I think that's probably worked in their benefit. The second half, there were moments, but the thing is, you look at possession and how uneven that was. Shots on goal were the same on both sides. It was 2-2. And if you look at pure chances, I think Pacific actually had more. Obviously they made most of their chances as well.
Well, yeah, because the winning goal came just before the hour mark. Whitecaps residency alumni, Alessandro Hojabrpour, and they nearly got a second after that as well when Josh Herd crashed one off the crossbar. And it was great tactics by Pa. He put that team out. He set them out in a style that I think it perplexed Forge a little bit. And there was talk of that post-game because they were surprised that they weren't their usual attacking self and were more defensive. But with everything that went on in the build-up to this, Pacific did it the hard way. And yes, I mean, you can't get past the fact that Forge just played in Honduras midweek. That is not ideal preparation for a championship game. They will have been tired. It was horrendous travel. They're not going to use that as an excuse, or are they? I don't know. But
the thing is we talked about the MLS about how, being off for so long didn't help any of those teams. And then on top of it, if you're going to say that Forge was tired or whatever, they were dominating the game. So if they were dominating the game, how are they tired? from the travel and things.
Exactly.
So that doesn't make sense to me.
They just didn't create the chances. That's what it boiled down to.
You have to pick one thing or the other. You just can't say they're tired and they dominated the game.
I know Bobby Smyrna said afterwards he hopes that no other team has to go through what they went through. And yes, I understand with COVID and not starting at home, that's legitimate. But I really hate, and we see this a lot in Canada. We've seen it in Vancouver. I've seen it in Toronto. I haven't heard so much of Montreal, but I'm sure it's happened there. Is like when teams do well, and then they are, as a result, in more competitions, they got to stop complaining about fixture congestion, like per se. You know what I mean? Like you can't qualify for these things and then say, oh, but it's wrecking the rest of, wrecking our league form or whatever. Like this is what it takes to be a good team, is to be able to be a good team in all your competitions. And when you're good, you're going to be in more competition. So to say, I hope no one else has to go through, all these games. It's this is a result of what being good is more games.
Yeah. This is what you signed up for, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously COVID and stuff, I think, hindered the overall calendar and schedule for sure. But I really hope teams get away from this in the future, complaining about this kind of stuff. Because I know CPL doesn't have by any means a perfect scheduling structure at all. But I really hope, I hope next year you're not hearing Pa talking about the burden of, CONCACAF nation or CONCACAF league play and how it's, impacting them. And I don't think you will. I think he'll be like, yeah, this is what it means to be a top club. We want to be in these things and we're planning accordingly.
Yep, and talking of things that Pa might say, let's just play a little bit of the post-game audio just now. We're going to hear some words from the goal scorer, Alessandro Hojabrpour, and from the man himself, the winning head coach, Pa Modou Kah. Hey there guys, congratulations on winning. Just first question for Ali. When you look back at your own journey coming through the Whitecaps Academy, betting on yourself to leave the academy and go over to Bulgaria, then come back and winning a championship with Pacific, talk a little bit about your journey through football in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think everyone's journey is kind of a little different. I think we all have to realize that there's so many players, so many talented players, that not everyone can take the highway one straight to the top. You have to go through different paths, and honestly, I'm super proud to be here. This is my path, and I'm super happy that Pacific trusted me for the last 3 years, and I guess it's paid off, right? Everyone's journey is different.
Very much so. Pa, just a quick question for you as well. Like, speaking to you the last couple of years, your knowledge of history in British Columbia, soccer history, has always been fantastic. How does it feel now to write yourself into that history?
Ali's words indescribable. No, but to be honest, this is why you play the game. You play the game, I always say to players, you play the game to leave legacy. And it's a part of legacy that nobody will ever take away from them. Nobody will ever take away this. I know there was a lot of write about the three-peat for a team, but for us, we know going into the game that it was our destiny to make history. And that's the only one game that people will ever talk about, right? And to his point, when you talk about journeys, I've watched this young man here grow. I watched him play for the Whitecaps and watched him grow. And come back, keep growing, and now he's sitting here as a champion, scoring a goal. And to his point, all paths in football are different. All journeys are different. But for us to sit here and say we are CPL champion, that's something that nobody ever can take away from us.
Congrats, guys. Enjoy your night. I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
We're going to go to Zach.
Yeah, congrats, guys, on a massive occasion and massive achievement. Pa, for you, obviously there's been lots to talk about the lead up to the game and the 15 days or the days you had to prepare. A mutual friend of ours once said that football is a game of fine lines. And today in a final, we saw it decided on a set piece. I was just wondering how much preparation you guys put into that. And was there anything that you saw in your preparations that led you to prepare in the way that you did, and to what led to the goal in the game today?
For me, we always try to analyze all the games. My wife will tell you that she gets sick of me spending too much time watching the games. But for me, it was very important to go back and watch all the games that we played Forge. And what I've always said to the boys since day one is like the games between them is about attention to the little details, right? And the attention to the little details, we go to toe with all of them every single time that we play them. But then somehow, some way, they find a goal and we don't. But today in the bubble, Ali can witness that I said to him after the first game, I told him all of them. It doesn't matter because the most important game is when we're going to beat them. And that's what happened today. So when you go and you watch them, the set plays is very huge now in today's game. And we spent, I'm not going to lie, we spent 3 days? We spent only 3 days on the set plays, which was, again, in the beginning, Ali was supposed to be the decoy. But somehow, somewhere, sometimes the decoy, they score. And that's what he did. I would never thought he would score with his head. But yeah, today was one of those days. It will never go down in history. So for us, it's about the preparation, the mental preparation, because when you never beat the team, obviously it will be in your back of your mind. And lead up to this game, there was a lot of things that people were saying. There was one particular for me what was said 2 weeks ago, and I truly kept that in the back of my mind because I'm like, no chance that is going to happen, right? Maybe it was said in the midst of happiness, but for me, being an ex-player, you also got to respect the opposition. Don't speak until you play the game.
Yeah. Well, Hamilton set out a big party for you, Pa, for you and your players. I hope you enjoy it. Enjoy your time.
Of course, we're going to enjoy it, right? You always got to, the best way to win is to win in enemy's territory, then nobody can speak.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my island, oh, this is my island, from the port on Nice right through the mission till the end of time. Oh, this is my island, oh, this is my island, we feed the sheep and cut the beans until the day we die.
Alessandro Hojabrpour, Pa Modou Kah, just fielding a couple of questions from Zach and myself there after Pacific win their first, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many, CPL Championship titles. Few more things just to talk about in this first part, just coming out of the game. I want to talk about the coverage of the game and the build-up to the game. Now, obviously Twitter is always full of these East v West pissing matches, and I have very little time for it a lot of the time. It's like everything, where should Canada play their home games, and etc, etc. And we've talked about this on the show. It's whatever's best, whatever the players want, whatever the coach wants. There's that side of it, and I can't be bothered with that part of it. This week, One Soccer was getting very heavily criticised for being so Ontario focused and focusing on TFC and the Forge and Ontario and Eastern bias, and they came out strongly and denied that criticism. And Gareth Wheeler himself was like, we do cover the Whitecaps and every single day and stuff, which they don't. And their social media doesn't certainly put out Whitecaps clips, and if you search, which people did, how many times I've mentioned the Whitecaps or Sartini and stuff compared to like TFC and Bob Bradley and all that kind of stuff. Big discrepancies. So that was going on. Glass City got into some stuff with some of the guys there as well. And I didn't jump into that because I thought, I'll just stay out of it. I couldn't hold my tongue today. It was absolutely terrible. It was so bad today that my wife, that has no interest in football, even commented about how bad and how one-sided the coverage was. It felt at times, especially after the goal, that there was only one team that was actually on the pitch, and that was Forge FC. All the talk was, how are Forge going to get back into the game? I missed this at the time because I was tweeting, and then Steve picked it up and shared it. I put it back and watched it. Pacific score. You get a little bit of celebrations. Then it cuts to Henry and the Forge goal, and then it cuts straight to the Forge bench, looking miserable. You don't cut to Pa Modou Kah, James Merriman celebrating on their bench. And it's like, if they don't want to be seen as biased, they need better direction, they need better coverage. Their commentary needs to not just be so one-sided. The post-game celebrations, they're getting the medals. Pacific's starting to get their medals, and they're still talking about Forge. Scott Strasser, who has written for AFTN in the past for Cavalry, he's got a new job now, which is why he hasn't been writing for us. He sent a quote about it as well that was just unbelievable. As Forge were getting their medals, the commentary's like, they don't get the heroes' celebration they so richly deserve here today. It's like, if they richly deserved it, they'd have won the game. That's you get what you deserve in football. That's how football is. I tweeted to you guys on Saturday when it was the pre-game press conferences. One of the guys had asked Pa, it's a guy that works for Forge, he asked Pa the question, are you looking forward to coming here to spoil the party? And Pa's like, are you guys having a party?
That's what I was trying to joke with Pa at the end. Like, Hamilton put on a party for you.
Yeah, I think you missed that.
Yeah.
I don't think you picked up on it, but it's like, I knew what the guy meant, but it's like, Pa just has no time for that. He just destroys questions. It's fantastic. But I mean, it was hard not to notice it today, Zach. It was very, very one-sided coverage.
Yeah, and I get, obviously, when you're home base and you live closer to a team, you know it better and all that kind of stuff. Like, you understand it to a degree, but it was pretty awful. The other thing, which is hard to ignore, for me, or at least it has to be brought up, is, all these people like who work for CPL and that its connection to One Soccer, right? Is that, yeah, this league was started. The guys from Forge, Scott Mitchell, Bob Young, are the guys who have done the heavy lifting, especially financially for the league, right?
We have a lot to be grateful to them for.
Exactly. So it feels also a little bit like these commentators, these pundits also need to feel like they need to wax lyrical about Forge because of those people, and they want to look good to those people, or they want to sound good to those people, or they want to make Forge sound good because they want to impress those people, which may or may not be true, but it feels like even if it's not intentional, it's maybe subconscious, and so it comes out as, let me say some nice things about Forge as much as possible.
Sure, if I was on it, I would have a Vancouver bias. I'm pretty sure I would. It would just kind of come a little bit natural. Manuel Veth tweeted at me. He said, the bias was real. In fact, I had people within the league bring it up in private conversations. I think there is change coming, though. It's not a good look. And that is the thing, Steve. Yeah. They did put their hands up and say, okay, we're listening to you. We hear that you don't feel there's wide enough coverage. I mean, they might want to drop an E. Not in a drug sense. They might just want to drop the E off the one and just call it ON soccer, because that's how it's felt at times. But if they are going to change, well done for listening. Because if you want to be the national broadcaster, you've got to cover all of Canada, all the MLS teams, East, West, and decent coverage for every single team in the CPL. Yeah,
and it needs to, like, obviously nobody's really raised an eye or anything like that, because essentially what they were hoping for was that crowning of a dynasty, Forge.
I had my question ready for Bobby about that and tying it in with the 86ers, but the thing is, the whole dynasty thing is they were already calling them a dynasty. You have to win at least 3 to 4 championships to be a dynasty. Oh yeah, they weren't even in that position, so then nobody ended a dynasty because they never even started. But they were hoping for that because that was what they wanted to pitch on a national stage. Two championships isn't a dynasty. No, it's not. And the thing is the thing that was probably the hardest to listen to was near, like, as the game's going on, when the game's winding down and everything like that, usually you start talking about the team that's about to win.
And they were talking
Yes.
about Forge the whole time.
Yeah.
As they were, and I'm not even talking about what they need to do to get back in the game. They were talking about their history and stuff like that, or what they have accomplished. So that's what I'm talking about. Is they need to listen to what they did. Like, they actually need to go and review the tape. Like, how, you know how players review game tape, game film? These guys need to review the game film and see, like, if they were from the West Coast, how would you feel if you were a fan of this team and you were listening to this going on?
I mean, I had folk tweeting at me in agreement from Halifax, from Cavalry or Calgary. So, I mean, it's not just that it's us being very touchy in BC about it. It was just so obvious. But if they have listened and they're going to make changes, great. They did say, though, that it's what drives viewership and what drives listeners and figures and numbers and all that kind of stuff. And I do get Ontario obviously is the greater population, and if more folk have one soccer subscriptions out there, they want to hear about TFC. Like, I don't want to hear about TFC because I live here, so by that reckoning, folk in Ontario don't want to hear about the Whitecaps. So, I mean, that does make sense. The only way really to solve it is to have people flag it up to them, and people from here then listen and watch the coverage that they give. So that does go hand in hand. But we've given that enough coverage. So let's move on from that and get back to some things coming out of the game. So Pacific's now in the CONCACAF League. I just get goosebumps and tingles thinking about what that atmosphere is going to be like at Starlight Stadium for those games. Like, Zach, you were over there with me for the Pacific Whitecaps game, and that place was bouncing. The main stand where the press box was, where I was, it was just shaking constantly. That, for CONCACAF international level competition, it's just mouth-watering what that can be.
Yeah, it's really exciting for them. And I'm really excited for them to be able to not just be in a new competition, but like you said, play some different teams. One of the challenges you face in forming a new league, especially with 7 teams and then with 8 teams, is the opponents get repetitive. And now they're going to be playing in a competition where they're going to be able to play some teams they've never ever played before and may never play again. But it'll be a nice opportunity, I think. I mean, the most difficult part will be that they're midweek games, and those are challenging. But you're right. I think the atmosphere that the supporters and the fans at Starlight will create for those games, I think, will be special.
The big question, Steve, going into those games, going into next season, is Pa Modou Kah going to be the man that is leading this team? He's been here 2 seasons. He's won a championship. Does he hang around and tries to take them to an even greater level? He's obviously going to get a lot of interest. The rumours that came out this week where he went quite deep in the process for the Dallas job. He's got experience in MLS. He's got experience over in Europe. I think it's hard for Pacific to hold on to him. He's going to be a man in demand right now.
Well, the thing is, I'm glad he didn't take first of all, I'm very glad he didn't take the FC Dallas job, because I feel like that's a job where you're not getting that much support. It's very similar to the Whitecaps, where they just want you to play the young players and they don't bring in the high-end talent. For me, it's, if I were, again, talking to him, if I would advise him on anything, I'd say stick around for another year. You get to take the Pacific to the CONCACAF League and see what you can do there. And that might even raise your bar even higher to a higher team. Maybe this gets you a place in Europe or something like that.
Is there any downside to it, though? Do you guys think?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a downside to that. And like, Carol Robinson's actually a great example of a manager. At one point, his stock was pretty high with what he'd done with the Whitecaps, but then he stayed here too long, and he kind of left with a bit of a tarnished reputation in some quarters. If he had gone maybe at the end of that 2017 season, he could probably have got a job over in England, or a good high-profile job. But then he left here, and I don't know if he would want to come back to MLS or if he would get a job in MLS, but he didn't do great in 2018. Now, Pa, next season, could not have a good CPL campaign, not do well in the CONCACAF League, so it could go against him. But the flip side, as Steve's just said, he does well in that, and his stock's even higher. So I guess you're betting on yourself.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is there.
And, I mean, do you think he'll be back for next season, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, in this moment, I think so.
I mean, he loves living there. He loves the island life.
He doesn't seem like a guy who's just. I like a lot of times the guys go for these interviews. Like it might sound like that they want to go, but it's more for the experience of going through the interview, and using that experience to use it in future. Like you don't always. It's not always this regular thing to interview for jobs, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah,
like it's just this would essentially would have been his second interviey ever because he interviewed for Pacific and now he's interviewing, and who knows how
that might go off.
Yeah, exactly. But like always getting your name out in interviews. If somebody's interested in you, you definitely want to take it, whether you're planning on going or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you look at the MLS vacancies, if he was interested in Dallas, he might be interested in Houston. And Pat Onstad, Vancouver boy, was very high on Vanni Sartini. And that kind of big personality he said he wanted, a guy like Pa Modou Kah has got that big kind of personality. Switching the purple for the orange.
I just wonder how much Pa feels like he needs to climb the ladder right away. Because I think Pa is also a guy, as much as he understands the football world, I think he also sees the value in building something, right? And so I think he's already done a good job at building, in the 2 truncated years he's had at Pacific. But I think he sees the value in building something long term. So I could see either or. Yeah, I could see him going on to a bigger, more lucrative opportunity. But I could also see him staying around to further develop what he's already got going on at Pacific.
And the thing is with Pacific, the comparison between Carl Robinson and Pa Modou Kah, the situation is a little bit different because I feel like the front office at Pacific will probably support him more than what Robinson got here, post and pre-firing. So I don't see it as the same situation, but definitely there is a risk. But when you're in a team like this where you were missing a lot of attacking players in that final and you still won the game. And remember, this is not just the flash in the pan. They dominated at the beginning of the season as well.
Yes.
That opening tournament things. And so...
Yeah, the wheels just came off a little bit towards the end of the regular season. I mean, realistically, we could have been having this championship game in Langford if they'd held on. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. Well done to everyone involved, staff, players, fans, backroom staff, everything. I'm so delighted. We've got a lot of friends over there and just really genuinely can't say how happy I am for these guys. Pa himself, as you heard in the thing there, said it's just like indescribable. Like just his place in BC soccer history now. So let's hope he does hang around, and hey, maybe it'll be the Pacific FC dynasty that folk will be talking about in years to come. I don't know if there's going to be, I imagine there's going to be some big celebrations over in Langford at some point this week to celebrate the championship. If they do, I'm going to try and get over for that if I can.
I guess it would be in like at the stadium. But Victoria is a great place to have a parade. Like it's like on the waterfront and everything. You have people on boats and everything like that. You can even have the players on boats and everything like that and celebrate. The one thing I will...
Don't throw the North Star shield around like they did with the NFL trophy.
The one thing the CPL really needs to do, we were talking about CPL before, I really love for them to start the season earlier. They need to start the season earlier so they can end it earlier. Because
but this was COVID impact.
No, I know this year was COVID.
In general, it's like been the end of April, which does seem quite late to start.
Yeah, they need to start it in a little bit, even if it's bad weather in March, because it's better to hand your trophy off when it's it's not coming down in sleet and snow.
Yeah, it's better to start the season in bad weather than finish the season in bad weather.
Exactly. So if you can end it in like October, even I think that was way better for the league, and you'll get a better game too out of it.
And it wouldn't clash with CONCACAF League stuff as well if teams went far in that to the same extent. So, yeah, I would be all in favour of that because it's a big gap until the season gets underway and everyone's just itching to get back at it. Talking of the state of the league, Commissioner David Clanahan gave his State of the League address this week, and we'll talk about that more and some of the stuff that came out of that when we do our year in review shows. How we're going to do them this year, we're having a bit of chat about this the other night. We're going to kind of do some shorter specific things. So we'll do like a Whitecaps year in review, national team year in review, CPL year in review, and might also do a women's soccer year in review as well. So we'll cover some of the things that came out of that. But I do want to mention an announcement that did take place this week from the league, and it's a long overdue announcement, it has to be said. December 1st, CPL tweeted out that they've had discussions with the Canadian Football Players Association. They've agreed to enter into exploratory discussions with the union about a future possible collective bargaining relationship and look forward to more conversations. Now, obviously very vague wording there. Future possible collective bargaining. So they're not committing to anything. It's baby steps. To quote Elvis, let's hope there's a little less conversation, a little more action, but it's steps in the right direction, Zach.
Yeah, it is.
Well, you're sceptical.
Well, yeah, I think, how can you not be skeptical with Clanahan's history? Like, I mean, I'm not trying to speak against him or speak negatively against the league, but this could have, it feels like what was said, the essence of what was said could have been said a long time ago. But you're right. Hopefully a step in the right direction, and will lead to things that will be more fruitful for the players and the overall health of the league.
But if correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be very much wrong, because I might be misremembering stuff, but he never denied the union. He just said we're not in a position to do it right now. We'll definitely explore it in the future.
That's always been what he said.
Yeah, so he's never really denied the union its chance. It's just he wanted to delay it as long as possible, I guess, but without saying that.
And he feels it is the right time now, 3 years into the league, and as long as this isn't just a token thing, and then we hear, the parties couldn't agree and they're further apart than ever, because that's going to be the worst thing for the game. So I'd like to take this at proper face value, and that this is going to see the change that these guys so badly need. They need to have this protection. When you've had the amount of guys that have hung up their boots this year and last year because they can't chase a football dream because they just can't live. They can't get the wage that they need to live. Things need to change. And this isn't all about just demanding super high salaries. It's just like stability. And we'll talk a lot more about this.
Stability and uniformity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it has been very alarming and very sad. Some of the players that have chosen to, end their football career to make a livable wage. But yeah, again, let's just hope that we look back on this and this was an actual meaningful step in the right direction.
Let's hope so. But that is it for our Pacific FC, our Canadian Premier League chat for this episode. We're going to be turning our attentions to the Whitecaps and Major League Soccer for the rest of the podcast. And we are going to be back with what has been a very busy week in Whitecapsland after this.
Hi, I'm David Klaniken. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show, one of the great productions that we have in Canada.
Start wearing purple, wearing purple. Start wearing purple for me now. All your sanity and wits, they will all vanish, I promise. It's just a matter of time. So yeah. Start wearing purple, wearing purple. Start wearing purple for me now. All your sanity and wits, they will all vanish, I promise. It's just a matter of time. I know you since you were at 20. I was 20 and thought that some years from now.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, how could I not play this song after what we were just talking about and what played out on Sunday afternoon in Hamilton? Gogol Bordello, start wearing purple. Purple's a trendy soccer colour right now in BC. Maybe one day it'll be blue and white again. But for now it does feel like BC is purple. I'm sure the Whitecaps and Vanni Sartini will be hoping to change that next season. And I guess that brings us nicely to what has been a busy week in Whitecapsland this week. Vanni Sartini appointed officially the head coach now of the Whitecaps on a 2-year deal. Axel talked in that introductory press conference that there had been over 100 candidates for the job, highly qualified people that had won championships. One candidate had won championships in 2 different countries. He felt, though, that Vanni was the right man to steer the ship, to take the club forward at this time, and stressed that the appointment wasn't because of like playing up to the fans, because the fans love him and wanting to keep him around for that. But he said, Zach, that basically he was appointed for all the right reasons, and he was the right man and the best man for the job.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward for listening to these comments. First, because before, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the number was like 180 of people that had been in contact with them. So now it's 100. So maybe there was only 100 good ones.
Well, they probably ruled my application out. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, they probably didn't count that. So, but no, I mean, it's okay to say, I think it's good to say, yeah, we hired Vanni because we think he's the best fit for us right now. With, where we're at, where we want to go. He knows us. He's done a good job. Yeah, it's not just a pander to the fans. That's fine. But then to say he was the best candidate of the over 100 people we heard from, I think doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't, but it just makes it sound like, okay, well, you got 100 not really great candidates, because Vanni Sartini is great and everything, but he's not like the greatest coach in the world.
Well, he's never been a head coach at this level, apart from the last few months. So, I mean, we don't know who applied, but you've got to think that there's going to have been people in charge of teams and had a more successful record. Like you've got to have thought, because Pa Modou Kah was mentioned as going quite deep in the process with FC Dallas this week. You have to imagine that he threw his hat in the ring for the Whitecaps as well. Maybe not, but I mean, Steve, what's your general thoughts on the appointment and just where you think Vanni can take this team?
Before, I've said it on multiple shows before, I do have reservations about this appointment because of the fact that he hasn't done it before, and this could be like something, they were able, I don't know, could have been something that just, happened all of a sudden. And where are they going to be able to bottle this and, keep this going for next year? Stats analytics would say no, it's very hard for a coach that comes in like this and be able to duplicate it next year, hoping he proves wrong. You could spin stuff any which way you want. Like 100 people applying, over 100 people applying. Coaches are desperate to apply anywhere at some point. Like they'll throw applications everywhere, especially if you're out of work. And, the whole point about one coach winning in, 2 different countries, where the country's Thailand and Uzbekistan or something like that, you don't know. Like you could spin any which way you want the qualifications of the coaches. I just don't think that you can, if you're you can definitely say that, look, he had a positive effect on this thing. I like what he did on the field, and that's why we hired him. You don't have but if you want a proper coaching search, you just don't take applications. You have to actually talk to the people and see exactly what they say and everything like that. So
it would have been interesting to know if they'd done any other actual interviews. I wasn't able to jump on the call at all because of the timing. I was at a meeting at work.
It sounded like Axel had done it with at least one.
And they would be allowed to do that because Sartini was not he was the the actual coach. He was the interim coach, and that allowed him to do interviews with everyone. So if they did it, proper search and everything, and they feel Sartini's the guy, then that's great. I applaud it. I do, like I said, have reservations because of the lack of experience at that high level. But he's sometimes you need somebody like an outsider, somebody that is not a normal head coach to kind of bring something out on the players, and hopefully he can maintain it over a full season. Because honestly, athletes at this level, that kind of gets old in a hurry. Like, I'll use an example from another sport, like the NFL, a different kind of football. College coaches that come in with a raw attitude to professional sports, they don't last. So you can't always have that kind of mentality in a professional environment. It doesn't always work. So hopefully it does in this case.
Yeah. I mean, much like me when I had that trip to Magaluf back in the 90s, Vanni's infectious. And I think the players love him. The fans love him. He does bring that kind of out-of-the-box thinking style. And he got the best out of some players and formations and stuff that we hadn't been seeing. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do.
And also a couple of things about the formations. Other teams had not seen anything he does. So he was a complete surprise.
Yeah.
They're going to have a full half season or partial season of tape to review what he does, so they can see what he does and what his tendencies are. That will take an effect. Another, you said the fans and who else did you say? Fans and the players.
The players.
One part that might be proved very vital, that who loves him and why he was kept, is the mainstream media loves him.
Yes.
Not soccer media, not the niche soccer media, the mainstream media, the people that tend to cover hockey more. They love him.
American media love him.
Yeah. Well, I think they're more interested in mainstream media right now because that could sell them tickets if he appears more on the mainstream news programs and sports programs.
It was a little concerning too, and this was more into, I think, some questions about the squad in the whatever 45-minute interview. But again, I think Steve, and I talked about this in the last show. The whole thing is what they did in these last, Vanni's time, or the whole 22 game run or whatever it was. Is it replicable? So they keep on talking about, we have a great squad because look, in the last half of the season, we were the second best team or whatever. And it's like, yes, it was a great run. Is it replicable? Possibly, but it doesn't. It feels like it's going to be very hard for them to have a full season like they did for the last 22 games or whatever. And so that's I think where my concern is. What will happen to Vanni? Like Steve said, when teams know him more, can scout him more. And it's more for the long haul, not just this it was like there's more. It's like multiple spinning plates with a whole season. With the Whitecaps at the end of the year, it was like we have one thing we have to do, and that's it. And everyone could focus on one goal. Going into a new season, there's multiple things happening, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. Again, I think he could handle it, but I'm more with this in line with Steve that I think in the long term he won't last like super long.
And the funny thing is people have complained about the past coaches that have no experience, and he's probably got the least amount of experience out of everybody. Although Carl Robinson didn't have very much experience either. So
yeah, but it's his likability. It kind of overcomes all that, and like I love him. Yeah. I loved him before he got the job. Like, chatting to him's great. The media stuff with him's great. And you do need that to attract fans into this team and make this team likable, because they've been an unlikable team for a spell.
Well, Michael, a lot of coaches are likable when they're winning.
Yes.
So I've run into in post-game interviews a lot of coaches that were very likable when they won and very unlikable when they lost.
Yeah, that's why we sent you to the away locker room.
Yeah, so let's see how, if they go into a bad spell, how he is at that point. So that Frida the cat might not be able to work her magic on Vanni and keep him in a good mood all the time.
Like I said though before, I feel he was the person to get it. I think he earned it. He earned his chance, and it's what he does with it now. So I mean, that's all to come. For me, something I'm delighted with is next year, with Vanni now being here, is going to let me use this soundbite quite a lot.
Oh, what a way to act! But it's an injustice, it is. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if anyone will know what that soundbite was, but does anybody remember the 1970s cartoon Calimero?
Was that a UK-based one?
It's an Italian production.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
And it's 1970s. I was born in the mid-70s.
Yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about this show, but finger on the pulse of the nation and what the Netflix watching generation and cable cord cutters are watching, I'm right up there.
Yeah, but I know a lot of 70s cartoons. It's just I don't know the Italian cartoons. That genre I've missed a little bit.
Well, Calimero was a little bird. He was a black bird in a family of white birds, and he had a kind of eggshell on his head. And it was dubbed from the Italian into English. And at the end of every episode, things would have gone wrong for him, and he would just do, as I played there in his Italian accent, "It's an injustice." So if anything ever goes wrong with the Whitecaps or VAR goes against us next year, I'm just going to get to play, "It's an injustice."
Primo.
Yeah, check it out anyway on YouTube, Calimero. It was remade in the 90s as well, and then they had another attempt at remaking it in 2014, but that's just... It's the 1970s original cartoon, that's what you want to check out. Anyway, roster decisions were announced on Wednesday. 10 options were picked up. Theo Bair, Michael Baldissimo, Javaine Brown, Christian Dahomey, David Egbo, Marcus Godinho, Christian Gutierrez, Thomas Asal, Florian Jungwirth and Brian White. 3 options weren't. Isaac Boehmer, Jasser Kamiri, Patrick Metcalf. 30 players are now currently under contract for 2022, which is kind of crazy considering on last week's show we were saying maybe 4, 5, 6 guys we're needing to bring in. So some are going to have to move on. In amongst those 30 though, there are 3 guys on long-term loans. So that's Cornelius, Coline and Pasil. So really 27 of the 30 roster spots are currently filled. And you would imagine that there's going to be some movement. There could be trades, there could be transfers, loan deals. The Whitecaps are also still in talks with 4 players, Andy Rose, Tosaint Ricketts, Isaac Boehmer and Bruno Gaspar, for whom, as we talked about in the last show, they have rejected the buy option with Sporting, which was rumoured to be 1.75 million. But chats, conversations, discussions are still taking place between the Whitecaps, Sporting and Gaspar for maybe bringing him back. Whether that's signing him on a lower thing, whether it's another loan deal, I mean, who can say? So, I mean, amongst all of that, any big surprises for you? I think a few people were maybe surprised that they let Patrick Metcalf go. On the whole, though, not really a ton of surprises out there. Marcus Godinho was another one that maybe surprised a few people.
Yeah, I was going to say Godinho is definitely one that surprised me. But who knows what their plans are there. I was a little surprised at Metcalf going. Like, I know we were critical of his performances, especially when he was playing out of position.
Maybe they just never saw the opportunity for him to actually play in his actual position. So let him go and find his feet somewhere else and get time.
Yeah, I wonder with some of the people they're still talking to, how much it is just, are they like how interested they are, and how much of it is just like, hey, we'll see what happens, or we'll see who gets picked up, or we'll see what offers they get from other people first, and then what we can bring them back for. Because I mean, I think Toss, I think Rose, Bowman, we talked about last week, the best thing for him would be a loan. This would be another way for him to go somewhere and get minutes. But I think those other guys, I think they really need to move on. And Gaspar is encouraging that they've taken the right step of not overpaying for him, or in my estimation, overpaying for him, and are looking at other ways to maybe bring him back.
No major surprises for me. I wasn't even surprised about the Godinho one because, like I said, I think they need some depth. They need to be 6 deep in a lot of positions, and they can't overpay for those. The one I think that surprised me was that how little faith they had in their draft picks last year, because they needed to give a 1-year plus options to Javaine Brown and David Egbo. Like, usually you sign draft picks to longer contracts than that in order to keep them around. So
was one of them isn't Egbo GA, or was one of them GA?
I think neither one was GA.
I don't think.
So a draft pick one plus is not that abnormal.
No, I actually think that's good business, because so many draft picks, when you're picking that low.
No, usually, but in the past they've always given at least a 2-year contract.
They have. Yeah.
So it's that surprised me a little bit that they've moved away from that.
I like that they have, to be honest.
Yes, isn't that good business though, Steve? Because they haven't got a lot out of those.
But you guys are the ones that don't like options either. So that's what's surprising to me.
Yeah, I'm not a big. I just that whole option thing, and it's not just MLS specific. Like options are all over the place. They're in the Premier League, and it's not talked about as much. Everyone's always going on about MLS options. I just don't like it. I like a contract, and I know a player can then just walk for free at the end of it. And there's no loyalty from players to clubs these days, and you can't blame them, because is there any loyalty from clubs to players, as we've discussed several times over the years, especially in MLS, where they're just a commodity and they can get traded at a minute's notice.
But overall, other than that, no surprises. Everybody seemed. I know they were going to pick up like the Theo Bears, even though they're on loan, in order to keep the value up there and maybe sell them on later on.
So Bears definitely back now, but if HamCam do want him and he goes as well, that still leaves 4 roster spots out there as well. And if Cava moves on, then that's 5 roster spots that's available. And if we're looking at adding maybe 4 to 6 players, to me that all makes a lot of sense. And you have to think some of the young guys could get loaned out or play in the mysterious under-23 league that hopefully Don Garber's doing his State of the League address next week. Hopefully that is something that is kind of brought up. It's something I'd certainly like to ask him about if I do get to ask a question. But then also I'd like to know the update on what's happening with the Whitecaps investigation and his thoughts on that as well.
Was your resume...
Probably steer well clear of me for asking a question in that case. So that's the options and stuff that's been picked up for the Whitecaps. So here's what is in store for the next couple of weeks in the MLS off-season in terms of player acquisition initiatives. So next Sunday, December 12th, sees a half-day MLS trade window from 6 a.m. Pacific time to 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if there's any trades that the Whitecaps want to get done, or if there's any of our guys that the guys want to make a move for, that's their first chance to do it after the MLS Cup. Monday, December 13th, all available free agents and players that will be available in the MLS waiver and re-entry drafts will be announced. So we know whose options and stuff haven't got picked up. We can maybe, if you guys have a look at who's kind of not had their options picked up over the next week, and we'll chat a little bit about that in the next show. Tuesday the 14th, Charlotte FC Expansion Draft. They can pick 5 players. Clubs can only lose 1 player. The Quakes, Red Bulls, Nashville, Galaxy and Orlando are exempt from having players picked, as they had one picked by Austin last year. Clubs can protect 12 players. They don't need to protect general Adidas players that haven't graduated. They don't have to protect any homegrowns that are under the age of 25. So they're all exempt. So if clubs have 4 or more international players, they have to protect at least 3 of them. If they have 3 or more, they have to protect 2. And if they only have 1 international player, then, they're fine. Although why any club would not want international players, I don't know. Designated players are not automatically protected, and neither are the under-23 initiative players. So with all of that in mind, let's have a little quick look at who you guys would be your 12 players to protect. I'll give you mine. I've gone from back to front. Crepeau, Javane Brown, Gutierrez, Flo Jungwirth, Derek Cornelius, Caio Alexandre, Pedro Vite, Ryan Gauld, Deber Caicedo, Lucas Cavallini, Christian Dahomey, Brian White. And a couple of those are obviously with a view to possibly selling on. You don't want to give up your rights to those guys. So, Zach, that is my 12. Any of those you wouldn't protect? And if so, why? And who would you put in their place?
Yeah, so my one question for you, Michael, about your list was, okay, so Cavallini, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, because you want to trade him, you don't want to get anything from him. Do you think someone would take him just because of the potential to get something for him, right? So he's a no.
Possibly. I mean, if you don't protect him, because remember this is the expansion draft, so if you don't protect him, Charlotte could pick him because they might be like, oh, he's a striker that knows the league and he's played for Canada. And yeah, he's had a crap season, but he's not a crap player. He could come good in our system. Or another club could be like, would you mind picking Cava because we'd quite like him at our club?
Yeah, okay, so that's fair. That's what I thought.
Just the thing that you've paid so much money for him. I don't think. I think there's a small chance that someone would take him, but you don't want to lose that money.
My other question then would be: are you being too sentimental with Flo? Because is Jake eligible to be taken?
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, see, I think Flo is less likely to be taken than Jake, and so I would probably flip those. Because
I don't know that I'd
as much
say
as
sentimental, I just think he's a really good player. I like how he plays.
Yeah, but
he's older.
I don't think a lot of teams would go after him though.
Yeah, I think these American teams would take Jake Nerwinski. So, and I think the Whitecaps should look at trading him. So I would flip those two because I don't think teams will take Flo at his age and his pace and that kind of stuff.
That's fair.
For me, the question marks were I had basically everybody. The two players that I had protected that you didn't were Ranko and Jake. Those are the two, and I definitely didn't have Florian Youngworth protected. He was kind of on the bubble for me, and I completely forgot about Derek Cornelius. And I think it is possible that you might get away with not protecting him because he's on a loan. No, I'm not saying I'm not saying people can't pick him, but he's on a loan.
I think it would be a big risk for a club to do it. So I agree with Steve because that did cross my mind. And if I didn't protect him, I would have probably put Nerwinski in.
And the fact is,
about Ranko too.
Yeah, Ranko.
I don't think anyone would take him because he's international.
But I think somebody would because he's young.
Yeah,
and that's where I think there might be a chance.
I think you've overinflated Flo compared to the
I would
Ranko and Nerwinski just based on their age alone.
Yeah, I would protect Ranko and Jake over Flo for sure. And if the big question would be Cornelius, and I think I would leave Cornelius unprotected. Not that I don't value him. I think he should be.
The problem with Cornelius though is like Cava. He's a Canadian men's national team player. So like I think someone might just be like, hey, let's just take him to because we can sell him. We can sell him to the club he's on loan.
Yeah, that's true. If you take him to sell him like Cornelius, that's understandable. But the fact that he's on an 18-month loan, or still 12 months left to go on that.
You don't know the terms either because it could be a no recall clause or something.
But how many times I can't remember any team in since 2007. Oh, sorry. Other than 2007, so maybe from 2009, I can't remember any team selecting their 5 or 10 players and then using them all. Like there's going to be turnover. So for me, if I was a GM and I saw a Derek Cornelius as example, I would turn to my owner and say, "Hey, is it okay if I make you some money? Let's just take this guy and wait and get the money for him, or B, let's just take him and right now say to the club, hey, we own his rights now. How much would you? Well, let's make a deal."
I think you're overvaluing Derek Cornelius a little bit there. I think there's going to be better players available in other teams that are actually in MLS right now.
Steve, you may be right.
And before, when you were talking about turnover, that was more when it was 10 players.
Yes,
were being picked. If 5 players, people actually keep those players typically.
Yeah, that's true.
And also domestics and MLS experience. Yeah, like look at Nashville, the success that they had, and even Austin went quite big with experience in the league.
That's why if I'm taking off Flo, I might not put on Nerwinski instead of Ranko because of the domestic thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess if it's only 5, maybe it's harder to do that. But even at 5. If a GM wants to like prove their worth to their owner, they might be like, "Hey, this is not what we plan to do, but this guy's available." And Steve, you're right. I'm not thinking about all the other players that they could take.
Yeah,
just say to your GM or say to your owner like, "Hey, let's make a little bit of money here for the club, and forego one of these picks."
And the thing is, they need to make some moves beforehand. Like if they really want to keep as many players, like if Cavallini is not in the call, they need to make like a sale of him, like a pre-sale before the transfer window opens, just to make sure he's gone. I don't know if somebody can be picked after they've already been pre-sold or not.
No.
I'm not sure about that, the rules there, but They need to do that just to open up more spots, because they do have about 13 players I would protect at this point.
The thing is as well, I mean, you don't know what happens either if there's any movement in or out on the half-day trade thing on the Sunday. That, of course, could affect all these things as well. I'd like the Whitecaps to have someone picked this time, to be honest, because you've also got another expansion draft next year with St. Louis. I would hope the Whitecaps are a better team next year. So if you then get a guy picked this year, it means next year you don't have to worry about losing possibly even better players or stronger players at that point. And so I'd be happy with that.
Do they get compensated with GAM if they get players taken?
Yes. I can't remember the amount, but yes, they do.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see if that's gone up, and with inflation or what. But yeah,
they definitely do.
The thing is, for me, is that while I know we like a lot of these players are some players we like, I think there are a lot of players out there on other teams that are really highly valued. And Charlotte's probably been a lot more scouting on the East Coast, Eastern Conference teams. There's nothing better for a team to weaken a team by taking somebody of your opponent instead of taking somebody of on the West Coast. That's
a fair point as well.
Yeah.
So let us know, listeners, who would you protect? Who wouldn't you protect from what we were discussing there? So let us know on Twitter at AFTN Canada, or shoot us an email, aftncanada@hotmail.com. So after that, on Tuesday the 14th, the 15th is the waiver draft, free agency opens. 17th of December, re-entry draft stage 1. December 23rd, re-entry draft stage 2. We know that the Whitecaps have never in the past been that busy in these drafts. I'm not expecting much to change in that regard. And then it's the super draft on January the 11th, before a few days later, pre-season's open and everyone's back at it. Such a short pre-season, but I love the off-season, I love the pre-season, so I am already looking forward to it. So, final bit of MLS chatter for this part. The MLS Cup is set. And for just the third time in its 26-year history, it's being held in Cascadia. And for the first time ever, it will be in Portland. It's the 7th straight season that a Cascadian club has reached the final. So, all three Cascadian clubs doing so well, making it into 7 finals in a row, all three of them. Really good. This is Portland's third time. After winning it in 2015, they lost Atlanta in 2018. What's it going to be? Are they going to level the Sounders and have 2 cups to their name, 2 stars on their badge? Well, they got to the final by beating RSL 2-0 at Piggy Park on Saturday afternoon in the Western Conference Final. Felipe Mora fired Portland ahead just 5 minutes in. It was set up beautifully in front of goal. Absolutely perfect pass. Sadly, it had been from an RSL player. I don't know what that pass was. That was just shocking.
It was a horrendous goal to give away in such an important match. It was really poor.
Yeah. I mean, RSL had some chances, and they either wasted them. Krylach had a good head in the first half. He should have done better with. Steve Clark, couple of big saves on the Timbers goal. He did really well, but Santiago Moreno basically killed it off. Long ranger, off the post, off Ochoa.
Own goal.
I'd give it to an Ochoa own goal.
It was an Ochoa own goal. There's no other way to give that. That's an Ochoa own goal.
MLS would disagree. They've given it to Moreno.
Yeah, because they're idiots. They're absolute idiots.
They sometimes change it afterwards. Like they'll give it initially to the player and then they'll change it to own goal. The thing is with me with own goals is when it's, always feel like when the player has no chance at it, that maybe it shouldn't be an own goal when it's a deflection off. They weren't even looking at the ball.
Yeah.
Then maybe it shouldn't be an own goal, but I guess the rules are different everywhere.
It hit the post. It came back out, hit it in the back of the head, went in. That's simple.
Yeah, I know. But
I don't think that's an own goal.
What? How not?
Because he didn't know anything about it. It's like what Steve's saying.
It doesn't matter. There's tons of own goals where the player doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I know. And the
question is that has nothing to do with it. The question is, was the shot on the goal, or was the ball going to go in its own from the play from the attacking player? And if it wasn't going to go in, and if it goes in because of an opponent, it's an own goal.
Oh no, I don't agree with your interpretation of the rule. I disagree with the rule itself.
Yeah. I hear you.
I mean, Portland, They were worthy winners. They deserved it. I don't think it was a surprise. Most people really thought that Portland were going to win. RSL, they did well to get to the stage that they got, but they just ran out of steam in the end.
Did anyone on RSL say, like, hey, we're going to beat the Timbers?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Because I don't think they believed it themselves.
No.
They were this far so far.
Losing that goal so early changed it, because although it probably made for a better game, because RSL couldn't have their no shots and try and get through to penalties at least. But so who would the Timbers face? That was the big question. The in-form New York City FC or the COVID-ravaged Philadelphia Union? Well, before we get into that, let's have a quick chat about NYC's dramatic win over the Revolution midweek to get to the Eastern Conference Final. A clinic in how to take penalties. I think NYCFC, that it was a great game against New England, but it's what we talked about in the show last week. New England, 23 days without a game. Was that the reason? Or was it just that NYC just got the better of them? I mean, it was a good all-round game, and when it gets to penalties, it's whoever's the best from 12 yards out. And as I said, NYC were clinical.
Yeah, it was frustrating. Like, I feel bad for obviously Tejon Buchanan, who played a role in the game, as usual.
He did not have a great game, though. Let's be honest. That wasn't one of his best games.
It wasn't even one of the best games, but he's still the reason it went to extra time, right? Like without him, that doesn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad for him. I feel a little bit bad for. I mean, I wish Steve could have been there to do the post game interview with Bruce Arena. But as I feel a little bit bad for him, but I mean, I think winning the Supporter Shield proved a lot this year. I really wanted them to win, but just because of Buchanan. I wanted them to win the whole thing. I wanted Buchanan to ride off into the sunset and to go play in Belgium, having won the MLS Cup. And so now it's like, who do you want to win the MLS Cup? It's like no one.
I wish Har was there doing the post game interview, asking Bruce Arena, "Do you think you'll be back next year?"
For me, yeah, it's definitely, like, it's difficult. Like, if the season is, the whole reason for the season is to be like at the top of the standings and everything like that. It gives less meaning to being the number one team, because a lot of people don't register finishing the top of the table as anything.
So that was how New York City FC got to the Eastern Championship game. Could they go one step further? Could they reach their first ever MLS Cup final? Well, the answer was yes, because they headed to Philadelphia on Sunday afternoon. Philly missing 11 players due to COVID protocols, including a guy that was huge for them all season long and in the playoffs, Andre Blake. Number of other starters as well. There's a few rumours out there, which I've not been able to confirm, about why players may be missing. But I'm sure stuff will be coming out later. But yep, Philly, favourites heading into this one up until probably Saturday morning, and then it really switched. But to be fair, Philly looked the better side. Their young makeshift side really took the game to NYC. They took the lead when Alexander Callens turned across into his own net. A little bit of pressure from Przybyłko behind him. It was in the 63rd minute. I was delighted for Jim Curtin because I felt really bad for him. I've spoken before. For the coaches in MLS, he's one of my favourite coaches. I have a lot of time for Jim Curtin and what he's done in Philadelphia. And when they went one up, I was like so delighted for them. It was a lead that lasted less than 2 minutes. 113 seconds officially. Maxi Morales volleyed home the equaliser for New York City, and you're like, they've done all the hard work and now it's game back on. I genuinely thought it was going to go to extra time and probably penalties after that. I thought Philly would maybe shut up shop and New York maybe wouldn't have what it took to break them down. But with extra time looming, New York City's 19-year-old Brazilian, Thales Magno, fired the winner. Philly had their pocket picked in the box. It came into Thales Magno. He finished from close range. New York City heading to their first MLS Cup. And Ronny Deila deserves a lot of credit for just the late run where they were unbeaten in 7 to get to this stage and now unbeaten in 10. His subs changed the game, and it gave New York City a spark this afternoon. 6 seasons it's taken them to get to the MLS Cup. They become the 17th team to reach an MLS Cup final. Hopefully the Whitecaps become the 18th team at some point. That would be nice. They now head to Portland next Saturday afternoon. Can they stop the Timbers? They didn't meet over the regular season, so we've not got any insight into that. Will the Whitecaps, 2002 home opener at BC Place on March 5th, be against the MLS Cup champs? Because NYC come to town that day. What do you think, Zach? Who you got in the final?
It's got to be Portland. I really don't like Man City Light, so yeah.
It's another one of these finals. I don't want either team to win, but
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm gonna pick a wood over plastic in this one.
Oh,
oh, very good.
good,
That can be
Steve.
a tagline. That'll be the hashtag we get going.
Yeah.
And I've got experience of things going viral this week, which we'll come to later on in the show. I can't bring myself to cheer for another Cascadian triumph, so I'm going to go with NYC. But that's
you could make it.
That's my heart saying that. My head is it's going to be Portland.
But you could make it into the locker room if you go down. That's 2 winning locker rooms you'd be in.
I've toyed with going down, but if it's a choice of going down to that or being at a Pacific FC celebration, Pacific FC celebration.
Yeah.
But going down to that, I could go to Trader Joe's on the way home. So potato. But let's hope it's a good final, if nothing else. And it's going to be rocking at Piggy Park.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous.
There's only a week for them to create the TIFO. I wonder if they already have something that they were preparing.
I'm sure they've been working on stuff, and it's going to be a cracker. I don't know how the press box copes. It's a tiny press box for hosting an MLS Cup, but
some delicious food, but very small.
Food's fantastic. I've only been there once.
Fantastic for pre-season friendly. I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the MLS Cup. Although maybe COVID protocols, you're not allowed to actually do stuff anymore.
But on a serious note, I hope like all the best for them. Like Ken Puckett from the Timbers, who runs the stadium, and they have some quality people. I know there's some frustration with some other people in the front office, but their ops people are pretty quality.
That's the one issue about cheering for the Timbers, about some of the people that have been part of the Thorns, and seeing them being victorious, that would make it a little difficult to listen to that. But I usually we talked about the CPL earlier. Like I prefer just cheering for the players and not worrying what's in the front office. I'm just glad the CPL doesn't hand a trophy to the owner and they hand it to the players. So that's
yes.
Yeah, and
actually, that's a very good point, Steve. That was so nice to see.
And then it happened organically, where the coach then gave the trophy to the owner. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
I didn't see that actually.
Yeah, they gave it to Rob Friend, and then Rob Friend, like before he lifted it, he was just like, "This is all about all of you. This is all of your hard work."
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. Like I'm so tired of them always handing it to the owners. It should be the players that touch the trophy the first time.
Yeah.
It only in North America it only happens in the NHL. That's the only place it happens other than the CPL now. I don't know what the CFL does. I'm not sure about that, but
I don't know.
I haven't watched the Grey Cup in a while, so I don't know.
But that is all set for next Saturday. We'll cover it in the next show. We haven't talked about whether we're going to maybe do another live watch along. We'll talk about that during the week and let you know. But we'll definitely be talking about that in the show next week. That's it for our general MLS chat. It's time to crack out the awards. And we're going to be kicking off our 2021 AFTN Awards after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gold, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I was in your
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our new Artist of the Month here at AFTN for December. And I changed who it was going to be, because I teased last week it was going to be a solo artist and it was going to be someone that we've featured regularly on the show, and it was going to be Frank Sidebottom. But then I thought, we'll just do his Christmas things. We'll maybe keep Frank for next year, mainly because I was trying to work out what songs I wanted to pick, and my wife cannot stand Frank Sidebottom. She says his voice is like nails on a chalkboard to her. So it was hard to kind of listen to the music and pick what songs I wanted. So I'll keep Frank to next year. But what I thought is, it's the last month of the year. 2021 is nearly over. So what I'm going to do for this whole month is our Artist of the Month, as you heard there, English two-piece band. Technically they're five-piece, but they get called a duo. We've featured one of their songs on the show before, from the Isle of Wight, a band called Wet Leg, and that was their single, Wet Dream. And I wanted to have them as Artist of the Month, and then I thought I can't, because they only have released 2 songs, so that doesn't really work for the month. But they released 2 other songs this week, so at least I have 4 songs that I can play for you now in December. So that's why I brought them forward from January. They're going to be our Artist of the Month. But then I also thought as well, all the music introductories for the parts this month will be songs, singles that have come out this year that I've really liked, and I haven't featured them on the show before. So let's see what we have in store over the course of the month.
Will any of them be from your record collection that you're sharing right now?
No, but I have been enjoying doing that. I haven't had a lot of time this weekend to continue my 3 albums a day. If anyone hasn't seen that, on Twitter I've been trying to play 3 albums a day, because I hadn't played any of my vinyl this year at all. So I'm just trying to make use of my record player. And I've been playing the albums and then seeing what they're worth on eBay and regretting playing them because they're worth a bit of money and I've probably scratched them. But well, hey, that's how things go. But in this part of the show, we're going to start our AFTN End of Season Awards. Yes, it's that time of the year again where we hand out the AFTN gongs. Much coveted. We've done it since 2011, and I love the discussions that we have about this and getting listeners' thoughts on everything as well. Some awards are very cut and dried, and I think the one that we're going to kick things off with in this part is probably one of those cut and dried awards, because it's the AFTN Whitecaps 2021 Player of the Year.
Marcus Gaudinho?
Spoiler.
No,
I'm trying to build up to it.
I think you're quite on. Like, I know I've mixed up his name quite often this year,
but you're giving it to Marco Carducci.
Yeah, no, it's very cut and dry. Like, it's hard to argue with the player that we've almost unanimously agreed to on this one.
So Ryan Gauld, the AFTN Scottish Player of the... No, it is the man between the sticks. He's number 16 on his jersey, but he's number 1 in our hearts. And he's really number 1 in the team as well. If you went old school, it's Maxime Crepeau. You agree with that, Zach, as well?
Wholeheartedly.
Yes. I mean, a fantastic season for Max, Whitecaps and Canada-wise. We're only giving this award from a Whitecaps perspective. Without Max Crepeau, Steve, I think it is fair to say the Whitecaps weren't a playoff team.
Well, they wouldn't have been in a position to even make that run at the end of the year. Yeah. He saved a lot of points at the first half of the year, and then obviously future awards we're going to give in the next part. He'll show up again, making big stops and everything along the way.
Yes.
There's definitely honorable mentions, and we can go over those really quickly.
I was going to ask, like, who, if you weren't giving it to Max, who was the other guys, really?
I was going to say, like, obviously Brian White is a candidate because of the way his half season when he came in, and And if you give it to Brian White for the second half, I think you have to give an honorable mention to Christian Dahomey for the first half.
Fair.
In the way he deposits some goals there. And then obviously, whoever was going to come in as number 10, we have to give it them. And it's Ryan Gold, who would be an honorable mention as well.
Yeah, he certainly added a spark when he came into the team, Zach. And it's kind of crazy that you're looking like two of the really standout guys, White and Gold. They're only here half a season.
Yeah, the other one who I think, and he'll come up later in some conversations, but who I think is maybe fourth on that honorable mention list is Diber Cressito. I think his assists were pretty crucial, and I thought he brought a lot to the team this year.
There was a few good standout performances as well, just throughout the team, and I think if I was given a runner-up, which we usually do on the site when we type these up, Brian White would be the guy that would get it. But Max, head and shoulders really above the rest over the course of the season. 6 clean sheets to his name, some huge saves, kept us in games, earned us points, saved us points, and
multiple ultra sheets or clean sheets.
Yes.
Probably the league leader in phantom saves. I just keep creating new stats for him just to make him look even better. He's easily the. At this point, I would basically it's hard to argue that he might be the best keeper in the MLS era for the Whitecaps.
More than Ousted? Because Ousted had that great season.
Yeah, I would put Max just based on what he's played behind.
I was thinking about that this week too, and as much as and I want to talk about David Ousted later in the show, but I think when you think about as much as Joe Cannon, Jay Nolly, and David Ousted are sentimental, maybe favorites or looked upon fondly, and obviously David Ousted did the most out of those. Yeah, I think Maxime Crepeau has now done enough to be deemed the best keeper in the MLS era. I know obviously he has not won anything. Like he hasn't won even a Cascadia Cup or Voyageurs Cup or anything yet, but I think he's the one who's helped the team the most, which is saying a lot because
crazy when you look at the defensive performances the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think he's been.
How
needed.
bad would it have been without him?
Yeah,
and other than Ousted, and I think Ousted at the end of his thing, they were like, he's the only goalie so far that they haven't even tried to look for a replacement for or tried to upgrade from. I think Ousted is the only other one until the last year or so. And that was more because of his salary that they look for a replacement for him.
And also like Max and number 10, Ryan Gall, designated player, they get on. So I don't think we'll have any Ousted, Pedro Morales situations playing out at training. But yeah, I mean, Max, great. He's won a lot of awards, fans and official Whitecaps Player of the Year awards as well. He's got the AFTN Whitecaps Player of the Year. He is a player that I just love to chat to. I genuinely could chat to Max for hours. Didn't quite do hours, but I did sit down with him this week and we had a good chat about the Whitecaps season, his time away with Canada, what it's like to face penalties these days, and a lot more besides. So go stick the kettle on, make your hot beverage of choice, grab a chocolate digestive, sit back and enjoy our feature interview for this episode. AFTN Player of the Year, Maxime Crepeau. So delighted to say that we're joined now by the man that has won our AFTN Player of the Year award and a lot of other Player of the Year awards. Welcome back to the show, Maxime Crepeau.
Well, thank you. Thanks for voting. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me.
Hey, always a pleasure to chat to you, Max. And just to start off, it's been a roller coaster of a year for everyone, but like for you with the Whitecaps with Canada, there's been lots of highs, there's been some lows, there's been starting the year off in a foreign country and then having to go away back and forward with the national team and then back to everything, finally getting back home, Mark getting sacked, the defeat with Pacific, and then finishing on a real high with getting into the playoffs, and then I guess tinge of sadness with being one and done. But when you look back from a personal level, just for you on the year as a whole, how will you look back on 2021?
It's a year that, to be fair, there's a lot to be remembered of it, and a good and not so good stuff about how can we take 2021 and bring it to 2022 or any other year that you face a little bit of adversity. Starting the year, to be honest, the team was not as together as right now, obviously because of result. That's number one. But the fact to be away was difficult for a few of the guys in the locker room. And there was a moment of adaptation, and playing without barely anybody in the stadium, to be honest, did not really help as well result-wise. And then we kind of saw it as well when we came back from Salt Lake back to BC. Okay, we're now in our own stadium. We know the surface. We know exactly what to get out of it as well, where teams have to travel a little bit further out because Vancouver's the city at the more west of the conference. So to be fair, there was a lot of positive to get out of that. But what I personally will remember is the adversity and how things can change quick on a turnover of 2-3 games, and your season is like a brand new page.
Yeah, the season started so strong, and it's like, wow, it surprised me because I thought it's going to be tough playing down in the altitude. You might take a little bit of getting used to it, but that first month went well, and then I know it kind of went a little bit off the tracks for a bit before turning the corner. What do you think it was? Because it started before you got back to Vancouver. What was it that triggered the turnaround in the team? Because it seemed to come after that heavy defeat to RSL. Was there a moment within the team where you guys just sat down and said, look, this needs to change, or the season's gone?
Yeah, there was a meeting that was old. I was at the Gold Cup, but I knew the team was having a meeting. There was a meeting while that month of July, where the team had a meeting, and from there they chose, and they did it on the pit. They chose to play for each other and not for individuals or for an organization. They chose to play for ourselves, the player group, and to fight for each other in any circumstances. That was the most important thing, because if you take that out, to be honest, if you take that out, and to be united, to have no stones unturned, being really fluid in your comment, where you'll be honest and be able to take criticism without having a notch of ego, just being able to take criticism and trying to evolve your game together. That was basically the message, and to decide to fight for yourself, because in this league, to be fair, if you don't fight for your teammate, you're not going to get the result on the weekend. And so from there it started. Obviously, when it did, we got slapped by Pacific. The 4-3 hurted everybody, and it wasn't our best game. I remember in the locker room we had a good chat, and I was one of the guys that spoke that, hey, personally, it was not like my best game. I know that I'm able to raise my hand when I'm in a situation that I did not perform as well as I can, and I can help the team. And so we spoke, and we basically said to do a real an inspection of each other, where what can we do better, because we're on the clock, and the clock is ticking, and it's our career, and it's a season that was really important after the year 3 of a rebuild. With 2019, we did not have enough quality. 2020 was really close. It was really close, and in fact, they did change the point per game ratio instead of just points. And then 2021, it was a normal season in terms of points, and we did not even play against the Eastern Conference, only Montreal and Toronto. So that was the choice that we decided, and then from there, to be fair, 1 win, 2 win, 3 win, or unbeaten on the road, or you go to a week and you get 7 points. Well, it's mentally good, and from there, the guys are positive, work harder, the mood is a little bit lighter, and it's contagious. That's what it is.
MLS, it's such a weird league because you just string a few results together and you start to climb the table. And I know lots of leagues are like that, but it really seems in MLS, if you go on a run, good or bad, you just rise or drop like a stone. Going into August, bottom of the standings. I know you were coming back to Vancouver. We talked about it on our show that I felt you basically had to win every single home game, I felt, to make the playoffs and then pick up what you could on the road. And it looked a tall order. But you looked at some of the fixtures that were coming up towards the end of the season and you're thinking, are those games you can take points from? Did you always believe, like deep down, I know you might say publicly over the season, yeah, we can do this, we can make the playoffs, but when you were sitting bottom, did you genuinely believe that you had a shot at getting into the playoffs?
The chances the percentage were small, I got to be honest. At the beginning of August, you're last in the conference, and you're like, okay, how do we start from the next game, right? But you feel like we were not dead, but we were real super close. We were with a straw trying to breathe a little bit out of the water, right? So that was my feeling. It was small percentages, but how do I affect the group as a leader and as the goalkeeper? I gotta stand up and ask the best of everybody and be hard on everybody, even myself. That's the way. Go in training, train hard, set an example for my teammates, and after that, like I know I can be hard on my teammates sometimes. I definitely know that. I'm someone who's really picky on details and he's trying to be the best version of himself. And when I'm not the best version of myself, I can be moody sometimes. And I know that, in the squad, and the guys know that. That's my personality. But in the meantime, I think I can bring a lot of good of my teammates and I can push them and give them confidence and really said, on a night I can save some points for my team, So I think beginning of August, it was like, whew, I'm not so sure. And then beginning of September was like, okay, we can do this. And then obviously October came in, October, September. And like, you can really, you have a belief and you look at the standings. And then the other thing as well is that you play everybody in the same conference. So you pick points against pretty much everybody. And that's why this year, especially this year, when you get on a road, on a run of 3-4 wins or 3-4 loss, it hurts, or you're climbing up because every team plays everybody. They don't flip conferences or whatever. So that's the thing. This year made an impact of how massive these run of games were.
Obviously, there was a change of coach towards the end of the season as well, and you've known Mark for a long time. I've known Mark from before the Whitecaps were in MLS, and I'd chatted to Mark on and off over the years before he came to the Whitecaps. So I was surprised to see him go when he did. I said to him if he'd gone at the end of that RSL game, I maybe wouldn't have been surprised. I thought that might have been the time they did it. But what was the mood like at that point in the group? You always hear players say, they feel that they're responsible and they've got a point to prove. And then Vanni came in, and his enthusiasm, it's just like infectious. I mean, what was that time like, and what has Vanni brought to the team? Because obviously he's going to be here again for the next 2 years.
Yeah, no, I do. I do know Mark for a long time. And even Phil, we go for way back, even provincial teams. And I was 15 training with the Impact. Now CF Montreal, obviously. Back then it was still the Impact. So he's the first coach that brought me into a first team environment, and then Phil through provincial team and Francophonie games in France, actually, he was my coach. So, they did a great job building the team from scratch, because there was maybe 10 guys on the roster in 2019. Of course, there was some players that there was some mislead or misguidance that it didn't turn off, didn't came up well. But there's others like Daho, Deber, these kind of guys. Kyle that came in, Ryan, of course Ryan, Brian White, they did a great job building the squad, because they did build the squad. And then obviously the result, the coaching part, and the managing part of managing individualities in a young locker room where there's a little bit less experience than others' locker room. I think that was where it kind of hurted the squad. The squad was a little bit hurted because they were coaching, and then there was the managing of individuals, and this is where it was a little bit touchy with Mark and Phil. And I spoke with them a little bit like that. He did a fantastic job building the squad, and then it was just the managing part. There was some few bumps, but then Vanni, what he brought about Vanni is that he believes and gives a chance to every single one of the guys on the roster, right? And sometimes the way Vanni does is infectious. So as you say, you can hear him, and everybody goes and fully follows him, right? And Vanni has that enthusiasm, and he believes in everybody to give a fair shot, like Vancouver did for him. And so that's the thing about it too, where he has a system. He's really clear on the tactics, because I think deep down, I believe that the tactics was really the change of our season. The 3-4-1-2 at the beginning was maybe it took 2 weeks of adaptation with our players to figure out the positioning on and off the ball. But then when the guys really understood it, there was some good performances, and we were a team that did not concede a lot of shots compared to the first half of the season, or we were able to get ties on the road at places that we would go before, and we couldn't pull off a result, right? So that's the big difference, where Vanni's he's incredible at managing individual.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes across constantly. I love three at the back. I wanted the Whitecaps to play it for years, and then every time we did play it, it was a disaster. But it seems we finally found it how it works now, which is good. Last thing on this season, obviously the playoff loss at KC was disappointing because everyone was getting swept up in the moment. When you see how the rest of the playoffs have played out, does it hurt even more? Because it's like you could be playing a Western Conference final this weekend, realistically.
Yeah, correct. Salt Lake upset Seattle and then KC, and that's what it is, you know. And if you're a team and you come in with rhythm into the playoffs, well, this is what's happening. And then Salt Lake is able to put it off, which the odds were not so good on them, right? No one would have pictured Salt Lake in a conference final, but they're able to do it, and credit to them, you know. They have Paulo is a good coach, and then for me, this team is breeding on Kralach, to be honest. If he's not there, it's a completely different team, but that's another type of discussion. But yeah,
he's one of those guys that you would love to have in Vancouver.
Oh yeah,
Kralach.
Is the way he plays and the way he runs with his teammates, the way he leads, he's a great player. And then obviously the loss in KC was not what we wanted to pull out from that game on 90 minutes, but I believe we had more possession. I think it was 65-ish in our favor, but they were better with the ball. It's whatever you're doing with the ball while you're having it, and they were better. They were more effective when they had the attacks or the chances to make a final act. You know, I think we had one or two good final acts, and one of them is Melia, when he literally shot Brian on the line with a header, and that's it. You know, it's how many final acts can you create, how effective can you be. And to be honest, in the playoff, we've seen it. Portland go to knock out Colorado at the end on a corner set piece. Set piece is something really important, you know. The one little glimpse of focus can cost you your season right there. But yeah, overall, even yesterday, I was watching New England and New York FC, where New York FC came into the playoffs with a little bit of rhythm. I wouldn't say rhythm, but 1-2 good flashes in regular season, and now look where they are. And you got New England, the Shield winners, that did not play for 2 weeks, and then they're a little bit rusty, and they cannot generate too much. And so, it's like this, the MLS playoff.
Yeah, it was like 23 days without them having a game. That's just not right.
It's not healthy for the body, especially at that time of the year. You needed to keep it sharp. You rather play every 4 days than every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So how enthusiastic are you for next year then? Because we know we've got Vanni now. There's going to be obviously some additions. I'm sure there's going to be movement in the squad as well. The West was tough this year, as it always is, but now you've got Nashville coming in next year just to make it even tougher. How confident or how enthusiastic are you for this squad going into next year?
It's I think there's more, and there's another gear to the team. There was some discussion at the end of the year where the next gear to this team is to find out a way to break teams down when the other team figure us out, how the way we build out and the way we play. Like KC did, they figure us out, and there was no really plan B solution. It was really stick to what you and try to break them down, but they were prepared and they were not having any of it. So the other gear is to on the field, the players that are on the field find a solution to break the team when they figure it out already. What can you do to affect and make them think and say, oh man, we're in trouble now because they figured out and they're adjusted, and then now us, we need to adjust to them and not the all the way around. Because if you do that, well, you're not chasing anything. The other team is chasing you, and when you're chasing a football game, it's more difficult to win it. So I think that's the next level to the team. And then, to be fair, we need to keep pounding on where we're good at it. I think there was some really good links. Sometimes tactically, the distance between the team and possession was good. And there's always room for improvement. The final act, like I said, is a big one where we were a better team in the second half of the season, scoring goals and putting crosses in and etc. So I think it's about to the basics of the game: the distance, the communication, the organization, the compactness defensively. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because in this league, it's like a musical chair sometimes, some faces are going, some faces are coming, but they're all familiar with the league. So it's going to be cool.
It's obviously, apart from club football being a huge year for you on the international stage, how difficult was it to be playing domestically and then going into Canada camp and then coming back and then going away again? Is it hard to adjust, or do you just slot straight into both environments really quickly?
Yeah, you do slot so quick because there's two different vibes. Going into camp, it's my most loaded year that I've been. I think I really, after every year I check out my numbers and all that stuff, and 37 games is the highest of my career so far, and it's good because I feel great and I want more. 37 games, 20. I think it was 8 with the national team. Yeah, 8 and 29 with the Caps, something like that. But you just slot in right there when you go to the national team because it's a different environment. You're there for a bigger reason than your club football. You're playing better opponents as well, to be honest. And there's no tomorrow in international football. If you lose your chance, well, your ticket to Qatar might be over. And for me, the Gold Cup experience was not. There's no tomorrow. It was kind of a preparation to the qualifying round of Qatar 2022. But I think you slots right in. The most important thing is to adjust and recover and be smart about what you're doing on and off the pitch, like especially managing your load. That's the most important thing because if not, you burn the candle by the two sides,
Yeah. In your wildest dreams, like when you started off the year and you're playing in all these wonderful, weird places against teams that everyone knew Canada were going to beat them, but you still have to beat them on the pitch. It's okay saying, oh yeah, we'll easily beat them, but you still have to get the job done. When you're doing all that and going through this long path, could you have imagined that by the end of the year you'd be sitting top of the octo?
Yeah, I think that's a thing that the team was aware the last time we got together in Edmonton. Was that something that we pictured? Maybe not first, but we knew we were top three. That was the objective. The objective is after every window being top three. And now that we're first for the new year, the objective is to be first at the end of January, and then to be first at the end of March. That's the objective, because that's the mindset of this group, is to take every point that we can take and to win all the games. I believe that we have a group that can pull it off home or away. We have the depth and the quality to pull it off. So the most important thing is to go to Qatar top three, and then it's all right. What's the small details? Where can you close the gap in between the FIFA ranking of Mexico and then the States? Where can you find that gap? And then obviously bumping the point system in CONCACAF as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, Canada's risen up the FIFA rankings incredibly this year. And you look at the Octo, and it does look like there's a top four, bottom four split. And I know things can change really quickly, but it looks like there's four teams battling for the three automatic, and then whoever's fourth probably are going to end up playing New Zealand. So even that path looks pretty good. Do you allow yourself to get ahead and dream of going to a World Cup, or can you not allow those thoughts in your head?
You can do it after the games, after the windows. I'm sorry, not after the games. You can do it, but like when we beat Mexico and Edmonton, you can think of it. You can think of it. When you beat Panama and Toronto, you can think of it. The last game day of camps, you can think of it, but you can definitely not put yourself right now, because the hardest is to go to Honduras, go to Edmonton, go to Salvador, then you go to Costa Rica, Panama, and then I'm missing one. Jamaica, we received Jamaica.
Yeah, home to Jamaica.
So we still have 4 aways and tough places to go, and we're aware that we are first, but there's only 2 points playing the top 4, which is it's a place that you cannot get comfortable. You cannot get comfortable, and you have to win your games. You have no choice about that, and you cannot sit on your arse and say, "Oh, that's good, we won." No. Everybody in Europe, European football, they're all pushing, and we're all following the boys still in season. And then you got the MLS guys who's taking their rest right now because it's important, and then right off the bat, following really close your off-season program to make sure that in January you're fit to go right away and not being in preseason form.
Yeah, I might have Canada and Scotland to cheer for at the World Cup. That would just be so... I'd love to go. I always said if both countries went, I would go. But I don't really want to go to Qatar for the heat aspect. But I don't know.
It's a long flight. It's a long flight too, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'll see. Now, I want to talk to you just a little bit to wrap this up about penalties, because you had 2 massive penalty saves this year. Canada, Mexico, Gold Cup, Whitecaps, Dallas, MLS. What's your favourite save of those 2?
Tough question. You're cornering me right now. I think they're both different in some way. I don't know. I can't answer that, to be honest. I feel like both are on the same pedestal, where the Vancouver against Dallas, it's a key moment in our season where if we drop these points, we're pretty much dead. Where the last 7-8 games of the year, we're all finals. You needed to get the points, a tie or a win. If not, you were dropping and you were out of the window a little bit of the playoffs. It's like literally the last 5 games where we need to win it. If not, it's dead almost, So that was a key moment. And then the Mexico moment was good, because I think it was one of one of the moments in the 90 minutes that defines intensities, and it's one of the moments that builds a little bit of rivalry between a renewed rivalry between the new countries. You know, in the past there was no picture. Sometimes Mexico was better than Canada, right? But now it's not the same thing. We're head to head against them, and we got 4 points out of them.
Yeah, and you saw how riled up they were at the end of that game in Edmonton. So you've got under their skin, which is great to do.
Absolutely. You know, that's why I think I love this moment too, because it started from that Gold Cup, and then it goes to Azteca, and then it finishes in Edmonton.
Yeah. I watched both saves again just before I chatted to you just now, and I totally forgot in the Dallas one, all the players to a man rushed to you, and the game's still going on, and they're about to take a throw in. What was going through your head at that point? Because you're just like telling, go away, go.
Yeah, exactly. I remember everybody jumping and everything, and then I realized the ball's on a throw, and the only guy who was trying to play that throw in is Daber, which is the smallest guy on the pitch. So, and then everybody realized, oh shit, we got to throw.
Yeah.
We got to throw into defense. So that was a fun moment. And then the images are fun as well. It's like when we're small kids, we're like 8 or 10 years old, and then your goalkeeper saves a penalty. Everybody goes with it, but the ball still doesn't play. And that was a good moment for our team. That was good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. In the press box, because we're not meant to cheer or shout, and it was really hard not to, because you knew how huge that was for the whole season. But with penalties now in the new rules, how difficult is it for you? How does it play in your mind? I've got to keep my foot on the line, or without giving your secrets away, have you got a method now that's going to guarantee that your foot's on the line?
I don't have a method to guarantee that. I think it's more on the moment present. The most important thing, and something that I still need to train, and I cannot take 5,000 PKs in training. It's still not the same the game day with the importance of points on the line and the fans, the nerves. It doesn't. You cannot reproduce that. You can only have it in games. But I think the biggest thing is to be on the line, stay as long as you can on the line, stay as high, trying to read cues. Of course, you watch videos of the shooter and his tendencies, but sometimes it doesn't mean anything, you know. So it's really on the moment. Try to black out everything, and then really focus on the ball, the runner up, and then you stay as high as you can, because with the nerves and everything, sometimes I go a little bit too early, and I have to stay a little bit further on my line. And the 2 saves, I'm really to the last second, I'm just standing up, you know. So these are the little details that I can bring to my game.
As a keeper, how much do you hate stutter steps? I hate it as a fan watching it. It just, even if it's my team doing it, I just hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's allowed, because how can you not react when the guy's running and then he suddenly stops, but you've already moved?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a hard one. Of course, I don't know how it won't change you. You know, the game wants goals, and it's been around for a long time. It hasn't been addressed. Well, it hasn't been addressed. It's not illegal, you know. It's just more difficult for us sometimes.
And I guess it's not meant to be advantageous for the keeper because it's a penalty, but still.
Yeah, exactly. But it is what it is, right? And so that's why it's so important to stay as high as you can for as long as you can, because you cannot give one little inch. If not, it's done. And a well-taken penalty, even if you're going early, it's going to be a goal, you know. And you've seen it in the playoffs a few days ago.
Yeah, New York City's were amazing.
Exactly, they were all small nets, and they were with good pace. You know, these PKs are fantastic. And then if a goalkeeper saves it, it's not the proper height, it's not the proper pace. There's always something. So if it's well struck, you have no chance basically.
I know folk always say, "Oh, he's missed the penalty, not the keeper saved it."
Yeah, typical.
So last couple of things. What's the off season looking like for you? Are you staying in Vancouver? You heading back?
Yeah, I'm in Montreal already. So yeah, I flew last Tuesday. Exactly. Last Tuesday I flew, and then I have a 2 weeks off, absolutely nothing. So on the 6th, now we're in the 1st, and then next Monday I restart my program. I took 2 weeks of nothing. I have three workouts on the week of the 6th, and then the 13th I have gyms and on-field sessions until the preseason. So to be fair, right now it's time to relax, do not think about football, and then go again and be ready for the new year.
Thanks for speaking to me today and reliving the football. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Max. Have a great Christmas. Enjoy your time off. Enjoy the time with your family, and we'll see you next year when you're back in Vancouver.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you. Have a good one. And you too. Have a good holiday season.
Thanks, Max. So Maxime Crepeau there, the first award winner in our end of season AFTN awards. Who's picked up the other gongs? What other ones have we given out? Find out more after this.
Hi, I'm Javane Brown, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I'm collecting all these feelings for you. Put them in a box in a darkened room and seal the lid with an industry standard glue. Make the box into a silent tomb with all these photographs and pictures of you, taken in a car in someone else's front room. This song will get me over you, lift me up and take me out of you. This song that says that she'll hurt you once or twice, but she'll never be with you the way you want it to. This song will get me over you. Take the box to uncharted seas, far away from all humanity, and swear the crew to absolute secrecy. Sink the box down to the ocean floor for maybe 20,000 leagues or more. Bang deep sea diving by an act of law. This song will get me over you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's one of the songs from 2021 that I alluded to in the last part. It was released in September by old English punk band The Stranglers. Back to some of their top form with that song, and it's called This Song. Check it out in all the usual places. So we're going to continue handing out AFTN awards in this part. We've got a few more to hand out this week. We'll do some more next week as well. And then we'll type everything up as usual and have it up on the website, aftn.ca. So we got our Player of the Year, Maxime Crepeau, in the last part. Let's turn our attention now to our Young Player of the Year. And for that, we're looking at under 23. So we'll start with Steve for this award. Who are you handing it to?
It's a tough call between two players, but I'd have to give it to, I think, the one that had the most run over the full season, and that's Diber Caicedo. Javane Brown is another candidate, but Caicedo, the assists, like Zach mentioned previously, and the fact that he is up for like would be an honorable mention in the most valuable, that probably puts him over the top for the Young Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's hard not to go that route. He's an exciting player who, the number of assists he brought to this side of this team was a little bit surprising for me, especially because a lot of it was played not as a winger. I think he's a dynamic young player, and I agree with Javane Brown. Javane Brown, I think, was yeah, Javane Brown was, I think, the surprise player of the year. But
yeah, if we were going to hand out a gong for surprise player, he's definitely that guy.
Or if like getting the most out of not knowing what was there, what, like however you want to word that, that's Javane Brown. Because as a draft pick, I wouldn't have been surprised if he didn't see the field. Like
the thing is, a lot of people had Egbo as the draft pick that would probably make the most impact.
Yeah, he's the surprise player for the wrong reasons, because he just didn't live up to what we're hoping for. I mean, you looked at those draft picks back in January, and like Javane Brown isn't your typical draft pick because he'd played internationally for his country at senior level. So I mean, he's not just your normal draft pick guy. But he's a guy that's really got his head screwed on when you talk to him, and he knows what it takes to be a professional. He's fully committed. He's no Darren Mattocks-like Jamaican character, if you wanted to say that. But he said himself that other Jamaican players have been in this league, and he wants to be a better example than they are. So you can read into that what you want or who he was talking about. But
and the thing is about like we'll talk about more of the draft. It's like getting the players, like I never understood why people waste draft picks on strikers. And once in a while you'll get a top one, but unless you're the top striker in the draft, you're not going to get, like, the translation of scoring goals in college to MLS is so huge. Yeah. Even central midfielders, you got to concentrate on the wide areas and your center backs and goalkeeper. Those are the positions you want to go for. And Javane Brown is a prime example of that, of somebody who plays in those spots. Obviously, probably center back is his most natural position, but being able to play wing back in wide areas, that's helpful.
I know we're going deep down the Javane Brown rabbit trail here, but as we talk about Javane Brown, one of the things that was most surprising for me as we got to see that he was a player who was going to contribute was that we didn't get to see him play at center back, which is the position I thought he would feature at more, and at right back or right wing back would be more a secondary option for him, where as the season went on, became the primary thing. But overall, he made significant contributions that I think they are so happy for.
And I know we're waxing lyrical about Javane Brown there. For me, he was the runner-up as well. I gave it for the young player to Deiber Caicedo as well. I'm excited. Like, if we can fully utilise Deiber and find his proper role or his best role in our system, what he could be next season with this season under his belt is so exciting, because for a lot of this year, he outperformed Christian Dahomey for me. I know Christian had a really good start to this season, but by the end of it, if you're saying to me, which one of those two would you want on the pitch more, Caicedo was the one I would actually pick.
He's got a better potential rating in FIFA too.
Oh, well, that's all that matters. So yeah, he's our young player of the year. Do you agree, disagree? Let us know. Let's move on away from the individual. Well, kind of away from the individual. I guess this next couple is individual to an extent, but it's still team awards. So, goal of the year, and let's start with Zach for this one.
Oh my God, I look at your list, and it's hard for me to disagree with your goal of Dajo against the Galaxy. Like a good goal and massive goal for the club at the time. And so, I think that's probably my choice as well.
Yeah, I went for that when it was the Galaxy in July. It was the winner, but it was his pass, and then he collected it, and then he finished. It was his pass to White. It was horrible Galaxy defending, because his pass to White was like comedy, as the three LA players just were drawn like a magnet to White, and then White's just like, all right, I'll just play it back to Dajo, and Dajo just fires it in. For comedy effect as well, it was worth it. But I just liked the team dynamic, the importance of it, and just the build-up of it, Steve.
I don't disagree with that choice, and I'll concede it if both of you guys agree. The one I would give it to would be the goal against Portland by Deiber Caicedo. Away. More of an in that kind of lifted the game, put the game in a different kind of part two, and so I would give it to that one, but I have no problem with the whole goal. It was quality goal.
Steve, that goal was I hear what you're saying in terms of that goal being like massively significant and important, because I think that was to me, when you look back, that was the game that made it possible for them to actually make the playoffs. And so, yeah, it was significant. But the goal itself, like,
well, I felt like
I know the LA defending was not good on Dajo's goal, but the way that he kind of just easily walked in to score on.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't always go to the defending. Like, there's a reason why defending sports, because it was a great attacking play. And for me, Casito, the fact that he was able, and at one point, like I said, when in the post game for that, it seemed like he kind of changed gears a little bit and slipped away from that Portland defender as well. And that's where I really like that goal, and just for the individual effort in it. And it came out of nowhere, honestly. I did not expect him to score a goal like that.
Yeah. The thing is, like, with this award, Goal of the Year, we've talked about this at previous years when we do this award. Everyone's idea of what a Goal of the Year is and what they're looking for, I mean, it's different. Some folk like long-range golazzos or dramatic bicycle kicks or something out of the ordinary. For me, I always like something that's a good team goal or has a nice little bit of interplay in it. I mean, golazzos are nice. A lot of the time, they are quite lucky because you could try it 9 times out of 10, it goes flying over the bar or something. It's when it comes off, I mean, it's spectacular. It's like Eric Hasley's goal. Absolutely spectacular. A golazzo for the ages. How many times would he do that? And how many times would it fly over the bar? So there's an element of luck in those kind of goals as well.
Well, he did it a couple of times at least.
Yeah, true. And a similar thing when it comes to criteria is our next award, which is Save of the Year. So for Save of the Year, it could be, and it doesn't always have to be a goalkeeper, it could be a dramatic goal line clearance by a defender. But for Save of the Year, you could go for a save that was really important, or it could be a world-class save that it's like, how on earth did he get his fingers to that? Or it could be a double or a triple save that just really kind of ignites people. So for Save of the Year, what I've gone with as my nomination, it's Maxime Crepeau, no surprises there. His double save against Dallas in the 2-2 draw on July 4th, both saves coming off Pepe. Now, I know you could argue for his save in the game against Dallas at BC Place in September with that dramatic stoppage time penalty save. You could even argue his last-ditch save last seconds against Seattle that basically put the Whitecaps into the playoffs, because if he hadn't got on top of that ball, then if the Sounders had scored, the Whitecaps weren't in the playoffs. But I went for quality, and I do like a double or triple save. So that was my nomination, Steve.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that save, but I do have the stoppage time penalty save. A penalty save is hard, very hard to come up with. The scorer should have a massive advantage over the goalkeeper. And for me, and you were talking about criteria before, goals usually don't have that for me, like the importance of the goal, but saves do, because there are more, they can uplift the team and they can turn it around. The thing is with the double save there, I think they scored like 2-3 minutes later or 6 minutes later, and so it was definitely huge, but they scored right away. This one was at the end. The biggest part of this save as well, the uplifting, the way the team all crowded around Max Crepeau, and he's the one that had to tell him the game's still going on, get back into the game. He was just cool and calm, collected. He made the save. He doesn't. I know he's made a couple penalty saves this year, one against Mexico as well, versus while playing for Canada.
Yeah.
But he's not known for stopping that many penalties, if I'm not mistaken, over his career. So that was a huge save. That saved him 2 points, and it was massive for them. So that's why that's my nominee.
Yeah, for me, it's also I got to agree with Steve on this one. It's a penalty save just because it won the game. It was match winning, and it was quality. Again, I do have to mention though, the save was quality, but the shot wasn't the best. But still, I think that save. I think. But
you could say that against Pepe too. Pepe had 2 saves off him at point blank range. Like you could say the shot, he should have done better with his shot.
Yeah, they were both really close in.
And the fact that Max has done a triple save before, who cares about double saves? That's it. That's just
the triple save, I think, won it last year or the year before. Yeah. One of the last 2 years.
So yeah, he's done a triple save before. So what's a double save for him? It's a commonplace for him.
I will bow down to the consensus. We'll go with that one. Either of them, to be fair, I would have been happy with. They were both quality saves.
And to think of it, you get the celebration afterwards, which I think is just as quality as anything else. In the video, if you put a video up.
It was amazing, that thing. We talked about Max to Max about that in our chat in the last part, and as you said, Steve, just everyone, it's like they thought the game was over and they're all congratulating him. And as Max pointed out, one guy is alert to defend the throw-in, and it's the smallest guy in the pitch. It's Daber. Yeah. He's like, go.
And I do agree that that last-ditch save against Seattle, is hugely important, but that one definitely was just more of a scramble than anything.
Yeah, that was just like falling on the ball. But do anything to keep it out.
But if he didn't stop that, we're not even talking about the playoffs, and Sartini might not have a job at this point.
Yeah. Fine lines, I believe a wise man once said. But let us know, as always, with all these awards, Goal of the Year, Save of the Year, what you would pick. A couple more we'll do this episode. Game of the Year. And we will start with Steve for this one.
Yeah, I had a couple of, other options. Like there were 2 or 3 games that I thought were pretty good. But the one I went with was the away win at Portland. It was, I obviously mentioned the Casino goal before, but they were down 2-0 at that time. He scored that first goal in the 63rd, and then Brian White scores, and then they won the game, I think, in the 80th or something minute. That was a massive turnaround, because you're not expecting anything from that game in the first place, and then they go 2-0 down. I'm sure a lot of people turned the game off at halftime.
Yeah,
and didn't come back to it. The other 2 games that I did think of as well was the 2-1 win against LAFC at BC Place. It was the first game back at BC Place. And that had, obviously significance as well. The fact that they were back in the stadium and they won the first game, and it kind of started the upwards trend. And then obviously the 4-1 win against RSL at home as well. And that was the Sartini debut. So that was a huge game as well. But overall significance wise and entertainment wise, the fact that they came back against a rival at their stadium,
potential MLS Cup winner.
Yeah, and we didn't have to hear any chainsaws in that second half or anything like that. It was just wave of Whitecaps coming at them.
Yeah, one of 2 wins against the potential MLS Cup winners that the Whitecaps have under the belt. That was my selection for Game of the Year as well. October 20th, the 3-2 win at Portland. Zach, you agree? You got anything else to throw in the mix?
No, I mean, I don't know how you can choose anything other than that. I mean, the only sad part is there wasn't a massive amount of away support there to be a part of it. But if there was, it would be the kind of thing that people would be talking about for a long time, from their trip and from being there for it. So yeah, you have to go with a 2-0 or a 2-goal come from behind victory in Cascadia way.
So we're just going to do 2 more awards for this week, and the first of them I'll kind of lead, because I know you guys haven't seen much of these games, but
I do have one person that
awesome,
because I talked to a couple people about that.
So it's our Academy Player of the Year, and for the Academy Player of the Year, I'm going to include under 23s as well. So basically anyone that isn't signed to an MLS deal right now, and the guy that I've went for is 19-year-old midfielder, come forward now and again, Emiliano Brienza, who he's had a really good season with the academy and with the under-23s in particular. Now, he was part of the Whitecaps pre-season squad. He was one of the guys that was called up. And Mark DeSantis was quite high on him. They were wanting to have a look at him, but he got an injury that derailed his pre-season, and then he's just been kind of like playing for the under-23s. Fully expect Emiliano to be involved in the pre-season that's going to be starting in January. Went to see a game against Rena's Tigers. He scored all 4 goals, or 3 goals. He definitely at least got a first-half hat-trick. And he looked so sharp, and other games I've seen him play, he's looking so sharp as well. So I definitely think he's one to watch. He was born in Puerto Vallarta, the same as my dog Penny. So that's another tick in his column as well. So who's your nomination, Steve?
Sorry, this is not a nomination. I must have misread the thing. This is not Academy Player of the Year, but it's just Academy Player to watch.
Okay.
So we can definitely go with Emiliano for the award. But for me, a player to watch, and I don't recall what level he's at. He might be under 17s. He might be under 19s. But his name is Victor Ocombe. He's from Edmonton. He is listed as a midfielder, but he has played a lot of center back. He's 6'3". He basically, the description I was given, I have only seen highlights of him. I have not seen play because it's too hard to get out to watch these guys play anymore, especially the academy players.
It's all up at UBC, but it's just
UBC, and a lot of them are closed doors. You can't even go in there. They don't really announce when they play and everything like that. But from what I've been told by a lot of people that have watched him, seen him, and none of them are from the Whitecaps group and everything. He's really good he's very aggressive and very confident at tackling, getting the ball away from players. And he's really good at getting the ball up the field. The one thing he does need to work on is being comfortable on the ball. But he's really like a midfielder turned center back, essentially. And so it could be something that can work if they decide to keep going with this 3-back center back crew. Like he could be a very confident player in that position in the future.
I'm going to trust your perspective on this, Michael, because like Steve, it's been a long time since I've watched the academy, the residency players play.
Well, that will change when BC League One comes, and we've got the under-19s in that, and the MLS Reserve League. Although, again, if all the games are up at UBC, it's not really ideal. But either. At least, I'm pretty sure the Whitecaps would love to be at Swangard or something.
Yeah, but at least they have to play away games to other places, so we can watch them there.
Yeah.
So that's a positive.
So our last award, the Whitecap to watch in 2022, and we'll start with Zach for this one. Which Whitecap player, and it could be from any, so it could be from the first team, it could be from the academy, the under-23s, who do you think is going to be a guy that this time next year we're going to be like, wow, what a season this guy had?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I know who you guys are going to talk about, and so I'm going to take a totally different approach to this.
Oh.
Kind of like Steve did with the academy there. To me, the Whitecap player to watch for 2022 is going to be Brian White. And I say that, obviously, I'm coming at it from a very different perspective.
Yeah,
Like I've said before, in talking about his season and his future, to me, he's the one to watch to see if he's able to be as important and as significant a player. If he's able to score as many goals as he did in, especially this run at the end of the year with, especially when he was able to link up with, Ryan Gold. That I think is really key for Vancouver. I think kind of they might bring in other players. There might be other options. That Cava might transform into someone who cares about club football. But I think that's the player I think that is most significant for Vancouver next year in terms of as he goes, it might shape the Whitecap season next year.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, because like when we were talking before about like getting magic in a bottle and everything that happened, that push to get into the playoffs, again, can you expect, we've spoken about this so many times, Brian White to keep up that level of scoring? Ryan Gold had scored one header in his career before coming to Vancouver, and then all of a sudden he's like the headmaster, part 2. And it's like, is that going to continue? We spoke to Ryan this week as well, so that will be in next week's show where we talk about that, so you can hear his thoughts on that in the next episode. But yeah, it's an interesting one. What about yourself, Steve? Who's your Whitecap to watch for whatever reason in 2022?
Yeah, so for me, again, my criteria is a little bit different as well than what you described as the award, but I don't really see it as an award. I just more see it as like what would be important for the team. For me, it's Kyle Alessandro. I think he would be somebody huge to watch. We've saw glimpses of him, like we said in the past. There's flashes there, and in next year he's going to be playing with a number 10. And how does that affect the way he plays? He's not going to be as stressed to become the ultimate playmaker in the area. It takes a little bit of stress off his game, and he's able to maybe play a more comfortable, maybe something that's in line with what he's supposed to be providing the Whitecaps, and maybe he does play a little bit better. And I know a lot of people have questions about him. Maybe he's able to prove those questions incorrect, not prove them incorrect, but prove them, quiet down those questions and be able to prove what he can do on the field.
Yeah, no, that's a fair shout as well.
I like that one, Steve.
I thought Javane Brown, and we spoke about why early in the Young Player of the Year, just if he gets a run in the team, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what he does. Does he make the starting spot his own? Can he get over the issues he had to get him coming off some games a little bit early? Pedro Vite, I thought of as well, for the very same reasons, really, that Steve kind of said about Kyle. We haven't seen him. We don't know what to expect. But if he's maybe going to be playing more of a number 10, he's only going to probably be playing a reduced role. So I think actually Steve's one of Kyle is a good one. But I also agree with what Zach said as well. Like Brian White, if we're not looking to bring in another top quality striker, which we might be looking to bring in a striker. It's just maybe not a DP striker. But yeah, a lot's expected of White, and he has to keep this going. And can he keep it going? But I think Kyle, for me, is certainly someone that is going to be fun to watch. And hopefully in a year's time we're talking about, wow, what a signing he proved to be now that we've seen him having his full season under the belt.
I agree with you too that Pedro Vite for me is like almost an X factor. We've seen a little bit of Kyle, but we have seen nothing of Vite. So for him, he might come in there and maybe he doesn't play as a number 10. Maybe he plays as the third midfielder with Kyle and Brian Gold. And that becomes a dynamic midfield, and where they're pushing forward and scoring goals all over the place.
Yeah, I think even, I can't remember if this is the language you use, but I think even Axel was saying in the Vanni press conference, like Vite is like a new signing, right?
And I know folk, whenever the Whitecaps have said stuff like that, because Mark got criticised for saying when folk were coming back from injuries and after the Gold Cup and stuff, and it's true. It's like a new signing, and Kyle as well, because we've never seen him.
Well, that's it. Vite is different. He's never been in any way. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. When it comes to Brown, I guess not every player goes through this, but the kind of stereotypical sophomore slump.
Dip. Because Jake had that.
Yeah. So you hope he is able to.
Has Jake ever
that.
gotten out of it?
I think he has.
I know. I know. The last thing I would say about that, there's a lot of players that can be like to watch, because a lot of players have kind of dipped a little bit. Another one would be Michael Baldissimo. Like he definitely came up big last year. This year he had a little bit of that dip that Zach mentioned. And does he bounce back and become a stronger player and be able to provide more?
Maybe it's a big year for him.
Maybe they try him out at wing back or something, because he has played fullback in the past.
Maybe they try him out in Pacific, and we have the Baldissimo brothers running the midfield there.
Possibly.
Because he needs to play, though obviously, as we spoke in depth on last week, this reserve team league will get him those minutes. But that's our thoughts. Let us know, who is your Whitecap to watch next year for whatever reason and criteria you want to pick. But that's all the awards we're going to give in this show. We'll do some more next time round as well, including like Tackle of the Year, Miss of the Year, Unsung Hero, and some of our more fun awards as well. That is pretty much it for this week's show. But of course we can't go without bringing you this week's wavelength. And I'm going back to 2006 this episode. And we're heading over to Denmark. It's a band from Copenhagen called Dream Jockey. This is from their album Wake Up Rock. And it's called simply Soccer.
Keep the ball, not the man. Zero
2006, Danish band Dream Jockey with their song Soccer. Love the lyrics there. Kick the ball, not the man. Well, I say I love the lyrics. Obviously, I prefer kick the man and then get the ball by doing that. But VAR's kind of changed that. You can't really get away with that as much anymore. But I thought I had this to play at some point, and I decided to go for a Danish band to mark the retirement of a former Whitecaps legend. He's hung his boots up. Former Whitecaps goalkeeper David Ousted played his last match as a professional on Saturday, and just wanted to wish David all the very best from all of us at AFTN. I'm sure he's listening. And many happy memories of him and his time here in Vancouver. He was always a guy that had lots of time to chat with us on the show, deal with all our stupid segments that we had, and yeah, all the best in whatever your future career and wherever you decide to take it.
Yeah, no one led a more passionate post-match celebration than David Ousted did the one time he did that with us.
Yeah, easy guy to talk to when you win. Easy guy to talk to when you lose.
Yep.
Just a professional, not a professional. And other than dealing with number 10s, probably not his favorite number. It was fantastic time there.
I mean, in all seriousness, that just showed his passion. And if he felt someone wasn't pulling his weight for the team, he called someone out. And that's what you need in every locker room, I feel. I know the game's changing and folk are a bit more kind of like the hairdryer things, maybe not in full effect as it used to be. But he was passionate through and through. He wore his heart on his sleeve. All the very best, David. But that is it for the show this week. Just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online, anything you learned this week, or any final thoughts, Zach.
You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM, and I want to give a shout out to Rianne Wilkinson, friend of the show, Michael.
Yes, and someone else that I've always loved speaking to over the years.
Exactly, and she has been appointed the new coach of the Portland Thorns. So all my best, all our best to Riri, as Michael would say, on this new appointment, and she'll be teaming up with Katrina LeBlanc, right? So they'll be reunited.
And a scathing comment this week that she said that she knew that she had to flee Canada, was the wording used, to be able to get a career in the game.
Yeah. But anyway, shout out to her and congrats on the new appointment.
Steve, any final thoughts or stuff from yourself?
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat. I actually tweeted out today after the Pacific win for once. I don't remember the last time I tweeted before that. But I think this could be classified as a good Pa Modou Kah coronavirus, where they started purple in the island, turned BC purple into Alberta, and now the whole nation is purple. So this is a good corona spread. Corona.
Maybe I should dig out that Columbus Crew song that I love playing, where it goes, "We are all yellow." We can just re-record it, and we can do "We are all purple."
Yeah, you're going to have to edit some other stuff out.
Yeah, I might have to change quite a lot of the lyrics, but we can maybe get Pa doing it. We might get away with it. But I am Michael McCall. You can give me a follow on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a like and a subscribe and turn on notifications on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AFTN Canada for all our VMSL videos. And we've got other video plans coming up for the off-season. Now, something I learned this week is if you want to go viral, you just have to get a pretty girl rolling her eyes. I'm sure many of you will have seen a tweet. I genuinely had been watching something on the PVR, and before that I'd had a game on One Soccer, so I'd stopped what I was watching. One Soccer was just on in the background. I happened to glance up and saw half-time of the Tigres game, and guy and a girl were chatting, and the girl just rolled her eyes, and I was like, oh, that's world-class eye roll. Just 2-second video, throwaway tweet, thinking, oh, maybe get 20, 30 likes or whatever. And I cannot believe how much that blew up. Now, we're recording this on Sunday afternoon. Let me just see what we're currently sitting at with the stats for this.
The one thing I will mention about it is that the fact that she had to wear a mask because of the pandemic and everything, it really emphasized the role of the eyes because that's all you saw in her face.
Yes.
So that really emphasized it, made it even bigger.
Also, I realised during the pandemic that masks have made me appreciate how much I love eyes, in male and female. It's just such a beautiful part of people's bodies. So it's had 770 likes, 313 retweets, quote tweets, and a staggering 846,000 views. It's like, if this doesn't get to 1 million now, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Wait, you tweeted this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he initially tweeted it.
On what day?
On Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
Wednesday.
Since Wednesday, 846,000 views. I should have put a plug for the podcast in it.
It got retweeted by a couple other people. Like big.
I saw this. I thought you were just using someone else's video. Okay,
no, that was mine.
No, he made the video.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
That
crazy.
tells me that maybe I should start tweeting more too, because I've sent you guys stuff that I've noticed on things, and then I don't tweet it out.
But the girl in the video got in touch with me.
Yeah, I saw that.
I got kind of tagged into saying to her, and then we were chatting. So basically what had happened was she's there with her boyfriend. She just asked her boyfriend what position Thauvin played with Tigres, because she wasn't sure what position he was playing, and he wouldn't really give her an answer, so she just kind of rolled her eyes, and that was all it was. And now it's just gone. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. But that is it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. I hope you found this a lot of fun as well. We will be back soon with more Whitecaps, MLS and CPL Canadian soccer chat. Until then, thanks for listening. Stay safe. Hopefully it doesn't get too snowy wherever you are. Mon the Caps and Mon Pacific FC. Bye everyone.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
AFTN.